Chapter 452. The Super-Source Energy Matrix, the Artificial Intelligent Spirit. The two were completely different things. According to normal history, the two would appear 400–500 years apart. First there was the Source Energy Matrix, and then there was the Artificial Intelligent Spirit. Therefore, the Source Energy Matrix in the history books was controlled by humans at first, so it could only be used for normal calculations and statistics. After all, a living person couldn't merge with the Matrix, and the Matrix itself didn't have any intelligence. When the Artificial Intelligent Spirit appeared, the situation was different. Gu Qianqiu said with a sigh, "This thing will definitely be recorded in history. Chairman should give it a new name." Chu Tian also felt that computer didn't sound good, so he said to the people beside him, "I'm not good at naming things, you guys can do it." "I have one." Meng Yingying scratched her head and blurted out, "How smart is its brain? We'll call it Smart Brain, what do you think?" Meng Qingwu nodded in satisfaction, "I think it's very good." Chu Tian didn't think too much before making his decision. "All right, then we'll call it Smart Brain." Smart Brain, this was a super-intelligent computer with strong learning and calculation abilities. It could be used in all aspects of life in the future. This was another milestone in the continent's history and a leap forward for miracle commerce. Meng Qingwu was already a bit impatient. "Immediately send this Smart Brain to Miracle City to use first. I want to figure out how many functions smart brains have." Chu Tian waved his hand at her. "What is the young miss in a rush for? Smart Brain won't fly away if we leave it here. Now that Miracle City and Central State have a transport network, we can teleport between the two places at any time. It's already very convenient to go back and forth, so there's no need to be in a rush." This was also true. It was really convenient to have the transport tower. Speaking of the Miracle Transport Tower, we consume quite a bit of energy each time we use it, so there should be a limit to the number of people we can teleport each day. Moreover, while the transport tower brings convenience, it also brings danger and instability. For example, people from the outside world can use the transport tower to come to Miracle City. Meng Qingwu asked, "Is there a way to prevent this from happening?" The Miracle Transport Towers were built all over the world. It was impossible for Miracle Commerce to guard every transport tower tightly. There was always the possibility of accidents happening, which would undoubtedly bring danger. When the Miracle Transport Tower is connected to the Smart Brain in the future, we will be able to control everything, so we don't need to worry about this. Chu Tian paused for a moment. "As for now, we can only raise the threshold to limit the abuse of the teleportation function." Meng Qingwu nodded. The two of them drafted a Miracle Commerce Transport Tower Usage Regulations and Guidelines. This set of rules clearly wrote, before using the Miracle Transport Tower, one had to first apply for a Transport Tower Use Permit from Miracle Commerce and also a Transport Pass Permit to the destination. The former was the right to use the local transport tower and the latter was the right to reach the destination. Unless it was a person with special authority in the upper echelons of Miracle Commerce, every teleportation had to be submitted to the relevant department of Miracle Commerce one day in advance. The teleportation time and teleportation intent had to be reported clearly. After approval, they had to pay a fee of 20 source stones to complete the teleportation service. After going around in circles, in the end, they still had to spend 20 low-grade source stones. 20 low-grade source stones converted to Southern Summer gold coins. That was 20 million gold coins. This kind of cost was hard for normal people to imagine, but with this kind of restriction, the transport tower would not be overloaded and it would be able to prevent any danger from occurring. Meng Qingwu nodded in satisfaction. It was much safer this way. Not only did the transport tower become safer, it was also a foundation for commercialization. That night, the upper echelons of Miracle Commerce gathered in the Southern Summer Royal Palace. The Southern Summer King held a grand banquet to celebrate Miracle Commerce's glory and also to thank Miracle Commerce for their support and care for Southern Xia. Actually, the reason why Miracle Commerce could smoothly develop in the early stages was because of Shen Fenghe, Yun Tianhe, and the Southern Summer King Dongfang Gan. The reason why Southern Xia was able to smoothly pass through several crises was also because of Chu Tian and Miracle Commerce's help. Especially after Southern Xia's imperial region was destroyed, Southern Xia had to move its capital to Central State. Chu Tian brought his team to leave Central State, but he kept bringing back various resources and selling weapons and troops to Southern Xia. This allowed the half-dead Southern Xia to quickly recover its vitality. The entire Southern Xia was filled with gratitude towards Chu Tian. Although Miracle Commerce would slowly move out of the kingdom, the traces of Miracle Commerce would never disappear. Miracle Commerce would still leave behind large amounts of factories and laboratories in Southern Xia, and they would continue to operate. Not only would they provide large amounts of jobs for Southern Xia, they would also increase the prosperity of the kingdom. Meng Yingying, Nangong Yun, and Vivian were very happy. The three girls repeatedly clinked their cups and drank until their faces turned red. "Let's drink another cup. Let's go to the theater after we finish eating." "All right, I heard he has a new work coming out recently." Nangong Yun and Yingying had a lot of feelings for Central State. After all, they had grown up here and had over 10 years of memories. Meng Yingying's face turned red. "It wasn't easy to come back, and I thought we wouldn't have another chance in this life. Who would have thought that the transport towers would be built and we could come back to play at any time? This is truly great." "That's right." Nangong Yun laughed. "Our boss really is skilled." Vivian also chattered on. "Distance won't be a problem in the future. When we're in the mood, we can come back to eat or go to the theater to watch a movie. This kind of life is very beautiful just thinking about it. Big Brother Chu Tian is too great." Dolores had just been called back from Miracle City, and this was her first time coming to a human place. Everything was filled with novelty. This is where the Vice City Lord lived? It seems like the Vice City Lord's status in this country wasn't low. Meng Qingwu nodded with a faint smile. She didn't like drinking wine and would only take a sip every time. In order to keep a clear head, she shook her head with a bitter smile. "What status? If it was a year and a half ago, I would have been a small merchant in a small city several hundred miles away. I would have been walking on thin ice every day, living a life filled with fear." "How is that possible?" Dolores called out in shock. "Your company is this big and you're a marquis of a country. Moreover, you're this smart and capable. How could you be a small merchant? I don't believe it. Human society is more complicated than the forest. At that time, there was no strength, no background, and no technology, so how could you have any achievement?" Meng Qingwu said this and her eyes became a bit blurred. "Everything has changed in this year. Miracle Commerce has gone from nothing, from small to big. It really is shocking." 1 year? Miracle Commerce only used 1 year? Dolores felt like she couldn't close her mouth. This was clearly not the work of Meng Qingwu. It was all the work of the mysterious Miracle City Lord. He really was a miraculous person. This king will use this chance to announce a few things. The Southern Summer King gently raised his hand and several royal proclamations were presented. Miracle Commerce has given Southern Xia a new lease of life. So the Cloud Dream Marquis is now given the title Cloud Dream Ruler, Nangong Yun is given the title Phoenix Marquis, and Meng Yingying is given the title Marquis Ying. Southern Xia is small and has no land to give, so although it is an empty title, it represents the friendship of Southern Xia. Whether it was Nangong Yun or Yingying, they did not care about the Marquis title. They had the resources in their hands. How could a title compare to them? Not to mention an empty title? But being able to become a marquis in their homeland was still a matter worth celebrating. While everyone was feeling happy, suddenly, a communication device on the Southern Summer King's side rang. Portable communication devices were very common in Central State, and most people with a bit of status were equipped with them. How could the Southern Summer King not have one as the king? The Southern Summer King did not say much before his brows knit together. There is a situation in the Northern defense line. This king cannot accompany everyone. I've been rude. What did you say? Could it be that the Northern spirit beasts are attacking again? Nangong Yun almost flipped the table. How preposterous are you done? It's not a full-scale attack. The Southern Summer King shook his head and said, it's just harassment. Everyone doesn't know. Yun Tian has said from the side, when you left Southern Summer, the war hounds have already harassed Southern Summer 5-6 times. Although they returned without any success, they still brought quite a bit of trouble. Southern Xia can block the war hounds' attacks, but they do not have enough military strength to counterattack, so the North and South are currently in a state of separation. Chu Tian knit his brows. How is the war hounds' battle strength? After the Battle of the Four States Lake, the Fang King and his army were completely annihilated. The Warhounds have gathered another 300,000 elites on the Warhounds Plains, and the Eagle Burial Warring Kingdom has added another 300,000, with around 600,000 troops stationed in the fortress. Although there are more and more troops stationed here, they have only been harassing us, which means that they are still accumulating strength. As long as their army reaches a certain level, they will launch another large battle against Southern Summer. It's too troublesome to have a ticking time bomb by our side. Chu Tian looked at the young miss beside him. How about we take advantage of this time to eliminate them in one go? Eliminate them in one go? The Southern Summer King and the others all stared with wide eyes. Chu Tian said this in an incomparably relaxed tone. How was this like destroying a large kingdom? It was as simple as drinking a cup of water in front of him. Who would have thought that Meng Qingwu would not be surprised by Chu Tian's suggestion? After thinking about it for a minute, she nodded and said, "This is also good. Miracle Commerce's business in Central State is not small, and if it is exposed to the enemy's army, it will be like a fishbone stuck in our throat. It is better to eliminate it as soon as possible. This can be considered taking revenge for the old Marshal Dongfang Zhan and the other heroes who died in Southern Xia." Chapter 453. The Warhounds' Kingdom was a large kingdom, no matter what, and the Warhounds' Plains were filled with soldiers. How could they be destroyed so easily? Miracle Commerce had left Southern Xia for a long time. When did they become this arrogant? It was fine if Chu Tian was like this. But had Meng Qingwu also been assimilated by this fellow? Southern Summer's strength is slowly recovering, but we still don't have enough battle strength. We can protect ourselves, but we can't counterattack. The Southern Summer King gave a sigh, not to mention that even if we can destroy the main force of the Warhounds' Kingdom, there are still several tens of millions of fierce spirit beasts in the Warhounds' Plains. There is also the incomparably strong Eagle Burial Kingdom behind the Warhounds' Plains. This was the truth. A warring kingdom was not a small matter. The Eagle Burial Kingdom's experts could not compare to the giants of the Forest of Chaos, but the Eagle Burial Kingdom was a large kingdom with over 1.5 billion people, and it was a spirit beast kingdom. The difference between the spirit beast kingdom and the human kingdom was very big. The human kingdoms were rich, prosperous, and civilized, while the spirit beast kingdoms were loose, barbaric, and warlike. If the human kingdoms and the spirit beast kingdoms fought on the same level, they would not be able to win. A Warhounds Plains with a population of several tens of millions could form a Warhounds Kingdom. A Warhounds Kingdom with a population of several tens of millions could form an army of 1 million, and a Warhounds Kingdom with a population of several tens of millions could beat the 200 million Southern Xia half to death. This was a spirit beast kingdom, a spirit beast kingdom where every citizen was a soldier. The Eagle Burial Kingdom's population was estimated at 1.5 billion. This was considered a large kingdom on the continent. Moreover, with the characteristics of a spirit beast kingdom, the proportion of their army was very high. especially for a warring kingdom that fought all over. Therefore, the Eagle Burial Kingdom had a large army of over 10 million, plundering all over the place. They lived by fighting, and wherever they went, they were shrewd, using tributes from subordinate countries to support their army. The Eagle Burial Kingdom had been fighting all over the place, increasing their population and army. This was a kingdom that was constantly expanding, and southern Xia was just one of the countries the Eagle Burial Kingdom conquered, so their strength could not be underestimated. Even if the Eagle Burial Kingdom is strong, they are fighting all over and cannot gather their forces. It is impossible for them to send their army to southern Summer. Meng Qingwu was not worried about the Eagle Burial Kingdom. If the Eagle Burial Kingdom had enough troops, what did they do for the past half-year? Dilly-dallying for this long, and only sending 300,000 to the warhounds, this meant that the Eagle Burial Kingdom couldn't send too many troops. Once the north is attacked, we will have a buffer zone and Central State won't need to constantly face the Spirit Beast army. Chu Tian slapped the table. In for a penny, in for a pound. We'll just rule the Warhound Plains and establish a northern militant kingdom. Everyone was speechless. This was becoming more and more ridiculous. Was the Warhounds a country that could be easily destroyed? Was the Warhounds Prairie that easy to rule? The tens of millions of spirit beasts there were all nomad. In the vast grasslands that stretched for tens of thousands of miles, they were elusive and hard to track, so how could it be easy to find? Meng Qingwu did not comment, but she began to deploy. The new generation of source energy weapons have been developed, so we'll use this chance to test their power. Have Dongfang Haoran bring over the reserve berserker army that Miracle Commerce has in southern state. Gu Qianxiu quickly said, "Tu chairman, you have to think this over. The reserve army in southern state is an army that Miracle Commerce spent over 1 billion gold coins to train for several months. Once the war begins, the soldiers' pay, the merit rewards, and all sorts of other expenses will not be a joke." Yun Tianhe also said, "This kind of large-scale war will consume a lot of resources and will drag down Miracle Commerce's development. It's better to bide our time and wait for the kingdom and company to work together. Our Miracle Commerce can't even afford this bit of money." Chu Tian had already made his decision. Central State City doesn't need to interfere. Miracle Commerce's strength is enough. This war will end in less than half a month, and we'll unify the Warhounds Prairie in 2 months. The Southern Summer King knit his brows. It was true that Chu Tian liked to speak arrogantly, but looking at the historical records, his arrogance was well-founded. As for Meng Qingwu, she was a cautious person, never letting go of an arrow. The two of them were this confident, which meant that they could solve this problem. Good. Since the two of you have already decided to fight, how can this king retreat behind the scenes? The current Southern Summer King was a wise and decisive person. Southern Xia cannot rely on strong reinforcements, otherwise the citizens will fall. This king has decided to gather 150,000 soldiers and follow everyone on a northern expedition. There was no need for Central State City to gather 150,000 soldiers. After staying in the Forest of Chaos for a long time, Southern Xia's troops were weak in his eyes. They were no different from clay chickens and pottery dogs. Southern State City was Miracle Commerce's military camp, so there were close to 30,000 barbarian berserkers stationed there. These berserkers' battle strength surpassed the several 100,000 soldiers of Southern Xia. Unless it was a trump-card army like the Griffin Knights or the Earth Dragon Knights, it was impossible for them to fight these berserkers. How hard was it to raise a trump-card army? If Southern Xia had 20 to 30,000 Griffin Knights or Earth Dragon Knights, history would have already been rewritten. Miracle Commerce's most terrifying part was not their special army, rather the terrifying part was that this terrifying army had terrifying equipment. The source energy weapons were enough to raise the army's strength by several levels, so they were not inferior to the elites of a warring kingdom. Miracle Commerce's main commander was Dongfang Haoran. This former Southern Summer King's prince was now the calm martial ruler of the Southern Summer country. He had made large progress in this half a year, but he had never commanded a large-scale battle before, so he could use this chance to sharpen himself. After several hours, the Central State Transport Tower continued to shine. The Minotaur Chief Arnold, the Shaman Priest Luz, the Ogre Chief Nathaniel, the Tiger Chief Andre. There were several dozen people in the Forest of Chaos. The most powerful local warriors all gathered here. Whether it was the Southern Summer King, Shin Fengho, or the Golden Arrow Marquis, their faces all twitched. They had never seen so many different races and different foreign races. What shocked the Southern Summer King and Shin Fengho the most was that these people were all experts in the peak third true spirit layer, with the strongest people almost reaching the fourth true spirit layer. This was several dozen true spirit experts. This was a lineup the small Southern Summer country didn't even dare think about. If any one of these people came out, they would be invincible in the South. The effect of these mere dozens of people on the battlefield was superior to that of an elite lion with more than 100,000 men. If these people caused trouble in Central State, the consequences would be unimaginable. There was no one in Central State City that could stop them. City Lord! Arnold's nostrils flared. How did we get sent here all of a sudden? Where is this? The others didn't react in shock. They were all looking around in shock. The huge ogre's gaze swept across the other humans. That ferocious glint in his eyes and his imposing aura made it hard for them to breathe. All of you listen well. Chu Tian walked in front of them with his hands behind his back. Although he was facing several dozen fierce forest locals, he was not intimidated by the other side's aura at all. Don't say that the City Lord didn't give you a chance. This is a country outside of the Forest of Chaos. There is a vast plain in the north that has large amounts of food and land to steal. I didn't bring you here for anything else but to steal territory and food. The eyes of these locals lit up. They actually came to the Forest of Chaos to steal territory and food? This kind of matter was very strange to them. The people there are pitifully weak. You have to properly grasp this chance. Yes, City Lord. Everyone rubbed their fists in excitement. Chu Tian waved his hand, indicating for everyone to be quiet. This is the King of Southern Xia. The Southern Summer King slightly recovered and immediately had people prepare food. These brave warriors have come from afar and Southern Xia has rushed to prepare. I'm afraid we didn't take good care of them. Someone, come and receive the warriors. These country bumpkins had never left the forest in their lives. This group of country bumpkins, when had they ever enjoyed the luxurious life of humans? The Southern Summer King and the high-level members of Southern Xia all attached great importance to this. They were fortunate enough to visit Southern Xia. This was something they never dared think about in their entire lives. In the next 2 days, whether it was eating, drinking, or living, they would all be served. This was an unprecedented experience. When these several dozen people walked through the city, they immediately caused a stir in Central State and people ran away in fear. However, when the radio stations and the media announced their identities, everyone's attitudes changed. These strange fellows had actually found reinforcements from the endless southern forest. These were warriors that had defeated the war hounds for Southern Xia. Each one of them was a true expert. The Southern Summer citizens were relieved of their fear and treated them like heroes. Arnold and the others had never received this kind of treatment before. These country bumpkins had lived here for a day or two and were praised to the heavens, satisfying their vanity. At this time, a Heaven's Eye airship above the 4 states lake sent back information and images. The enemy has been locked onto. They are coming from the northwest, mainly using giant flying mounts. Although the image was not clear, it could be vaguely seen that the Eagle Burial Kingdom had over 20,000 people. They had learned from their previous failures, and the war hounds would not fight with Southern Xia on the water. Instead, they used giant rocks to transport their troop. Each giant rocks could transport 600–700 soldiers, and other than several dozen giant rocks, the rest were air cavalry. This kind of formation allowed the troops to move freely. Their target was the central state port or important areas like the factories. After causing trouble and damage to southern Xia, they would immediately retreat, not wanting to continue fighting. The giant transport beasts and air cavalry worked together. Southern Xia's air force was very weak, so this arrangement was to attack the enemy's weakness. Miracle Commerce relied on Oldman's small town to buy many flying demon beasts from the nearby tribes. Miracle City also trained and bought large amounts of flying demon beasts, but distant waters could not quench a nearby thirst. The transport tower's transport capacity was limited, so unless they created a space gate, it was impossible to transport the troop. But there was no need, they had enough strength now. Chapter 454. Oldman's small town's oil mine had already been mined, and with the silver oil as the foundation, the company had already developed a new generation of energy. With this as the foundation, naturally they could create a new generation of weapons. Miracle Commerce had established a large-scale market in Oldman's small town, continuously sending materials to Southern Xia's secret weapon factory. Now there was already a batch of weapons being made. Meng Qingwu contacted the factory and a new batch of weapons was immediately sent over. It looked like a source energy cannon, but it wasn't the same. The source energy cannon fired an energy wave at the target, creating a strong killing effect. However, even though the source energy cannon was very strong, it had a hard-to-ignore flaw. The energy wave it fired was condensed from energy, so it would constantly weaken and dissipate. The further it was, the weaker it would be. Once it passed a certain distance, it would completely dissipate and its effective range and killing radius would be limited. The weapon sent over now was a weapon that could fire live ammunition, a large-scale rocket launcher. The Miracle Commerce employees brought out 3-meter-long rockets. The rockets were incomparably large, each one as thick as a person's thigh. They were covered in blue crystals and large amounts of runes were used to reinforce them, releasing energy fluctuations from inside. The bottom of the rocket and the rocket launcher have a compatible source energy array. Once the rocket is fired, a large amount of energy will be sent out. It can reach a distance of over 100 miles and its average speed is 7 miles per second. If it encounters a large amount of resistance, the warhead will explode. This is a pretty good long-range weapon. The rocket warhead is made of second-generation energy, and its destructive might is very strong. Even a mid- or late true spirit realm expert would find it hard to take it head-on. Meng Qingwu continued to explain, when this weapon was invented, it was used to attack fortifications and large-scale targets that wouldn't move. Now with Smart Brain, perhaps we can try to directly attack the enemy's moving troop. Chu Tian said, instead of saying this, it's better to give it a try. Zero, is you prepared? We're already prepared. Good, let's go. Several new warships were docked in the central state port. These were the new generation warships jointly developed by the Southern Summer Royal Family and Miracle Commerce. Not only did they use a higher-level source energy, they were also equipped with the first-generation source energy cannons. Whether it was speed or battle strength, they were all impeccable. 5 rocket launchers were sent to the deck of a large warship. This time, the launch of the rocket was not manually operated. Zero was built here to form a temporary control panel. This control panel was not only connected to the rocket launcher, it was also connected to the information sent back by the Heaven's Eye airship. The enemy's position, speed, and direction were all quickly sent into the source energy matrix. With 10 energy columns working at the same time, the entire system quickly worked. The first-generation intelligence system was large and cumbersome, but its calculation speed could reach 500 million cycles per second, enough to deal with a tremendous amount of data. The enemy's position, movement trajectory, flight speed, as well as the weapons data, from this, it could plan out the most accurate and precise attack method. The army of Southern Xia had already assembled. The 150,000 Central State elites had boarded the warships, and the 30,000 Southern State berserkers were on the way. It could be said that the war hounds were under Southern Xia's surveillance, so it was impossible for them to sneak attack them. However, the two sides were so far apart that even binoculars couldn't see them. Could the rocket hit the target in the air? This was not like bombing a city. The target was far, small, and active. This was definitely not an easy task. The Southern Summer Kings group, Arnold, Druz, and the others were all standing on the deck, waiting for this moment to happen. The target is in range and has been locked on. It can be fired with an estimated hit rate of 87%. Zero's emotionless mechanical voice sounded, "Do you fire?" Chu Tian looked at the empty sky and nodded. "Fire." Zero coldly said, "Begin firing." The rocket launcher was slightly adjusted, and with a few continuous rumbles, 5 pointed and long spear-shaped rockets were launched into the sky. The tail flames were neither gorgeous nor long, and only a light blue and white energy flow was released. However, the speed was raised to the extreme in an extremely short period of time, as if it was going to pierce through space. When the air was violently rubbing against each other, it actually ignited into raging flames, immediately wrapping around the entire rocket. It was too fast. The rocket instantly broke through the sound barrier and then wildly accelerated, reaching its fastest speed in just a few seconds. It was around 6-7 miles per second, which was around 10 times the speed of sound. How shocking was 10 times the speed of sound? Even true spirit realm experts would find it hard to reach 10 times the speed of sound. The War Hound's army flew 1,000 meters in the air, not knowing that danger was quickly approaching. When they vaguely discovered that there were several beams of light in the sky, it was already too late. The rocket was much faster than the speed of sound. Therefore, it was already too late when they heard the sound of air breaking. The 5 rockets burned as they rubbed against the air, turning into 5 meteors falling from the sky. They flew across tens of thousands of miles, breaking through everything as they flew forward. The War Hound's generals did not even have time to shout out before the 5 missiles hit the giant rock. There was no explosion. It was a storm. Shockingly, it was an energy storm that was expanding. The giant rock was instantly swallowed by the energy storm, and its body was instantly turned into minced meat. Several hundred War Hound's elites were instantly torn apart by the energy, not even leaving a corpse behind. Terrifying. Too terrifying. Everyone could see the energy storm in the sky from afar. Even if they weren't killed by the explosion, with such a terrifying energy storm, it would be hard for them to escape unscathed. It can't be. Nangong Yun's eyes went wide. How could this power be this strong? Chu Tian nodded in satisfaction. This weapon isn't bad, we need to mass-produce it in the future. This kind of solid missile weapon and pure energy weapon had their own strength. The source energy cannon had a short range, but it was very strong in its effective killing radius, and it was almost impossible to intercept. After all, it was just a wave of energy, and the weakness was that it had a high requirement on the barrel. For this kind of dense energy, how could normal materials withstand it? Therefore, strong materials were the prerequisites for producing high-level source energy cannons. The rockets and missiles had a long range. In the future, when miracle commerce entered the information age and automated smart brain era, it would have a terrifying killing range and deterrence. Because it was a solid weapon, the missile would not be consumed before it exploded. Of course, the weakness was that it was easier to intercept and its destructive power was weaker than the source energy cannons. Chu Tian said, "How many more of these rockets do we have?" Meng Qingwu shook her head and said, "This is the newest weapon and this is the first time we are using it, so we don't have much in stock. This is just a test." "What? Truly disappointing," Chu Tian said with a sigh. "The company's production is too weak. we need to strengthen it and strengthen it. Alright, listen to my orders, we will immediately move forward and take care of the fish that escaped the net. Although there were no more rockets, their goal had been achieved. Several giant rocks were directly killed and the war hounds suffered heavy casualties. They had suffered such a heavy defeat before even reaching Central State, it could be imagined how much of a blow this was to the war hounds. Even if the remaining survivors still had battle strength, they would not have any fighting spirit left. The 150,000 Southern summer soldiers started their warships and several hundred warships moved across the lake, creating a spectacular scene. Everyone only had one goal, which was to head to the Tsang State port on the northern shore of the Four States Lake and attack the war hounds' fortress. The defeated war hounds did not need Southern Xia to chase them at all. The giant shark gang intercepted them while they were retreating, catching all the survivors of the war hounds' ambush in one fell swoop. After Chu Tian left, the giant shark gang underwent earth-shattering changes. Boss, you had already become a true spirit cultivator, and the giant shark gang had doubled their numbers in just half a year, becoming the #1 gang in Southern Xia. This was a power that no one dared to ignore, especially in the Four States Lake. At this time, a ship from Southern State filled with berserkers arrived. After the Southern Xia army gathered, they immediately headed to the northern shore's Tsang State port. The Southern Xia soldiers had been waiting for this counterattack for a long time. The grudges between the Southern Summer Country and the war hounds were too deep, especially after Imperial City was taken and the northern states fell. Countless Southern Summer citizens were slaughtered and plundered, causing the Southern citizens to be filled with rage. Only facing the war hounds' aggressive stance, Southern Xia could not turn the situation around. Chu Tian once again raised the morale of the Southern Summer soldiers. Miracle Commerce was participating in this battle, so it would definitely be a success. Everyone's aura was like a rainbow, swallowing 10,000 miles like a tiger. They charged forward, not stopping for a single moment. The war hounds never would have thought that the Southern Summer Country would suddenly have a decisive battle. Southern Xia wanted to take advantage of the war hounds' lack of reaction and destroy their foundations, taking back the land that Southern Xia had lost. Chu Tian said, "This kind of direct attack will cause too many casualties. We'll go first and do something behind their backs." Alright. Vivian immediately brought Chu Tian and began to move through space. Vivian's innate spatial energy was not bad. She could teleport several hundred kilometers with each teleportation. Although Chu Tian also had innate spatial energy, he could only teleport short distances. "We're here." The two of them arrived at Tsang State a day earlier than the fleet. This was the junction between Tsang State and the Imperial region, with several ports in Tsang State. It was a very prosperous place for Southern Xia's shipping trade, but after it was occupied by the war hound's spirit beasts, this place had changed greatly. Chu Tian used Vivian's ability to sneak into Tsang State's fortress. The two of them quickly placed time bombs in every corner of the fortress. These time bombs were made with second-generation energy technology, so they were naturally very strong. When everything was prepared, Chu Tian left the fortress without anyone knowing. Now he was waiting for a good show to begin. Chapter 455. Vivian cut open space and pulled Chu Tian out. She was already so tired that she almost fell to the ground. Her beautiful little face was red as she gasped for breath. She was covered in sparkling sweat and couldn't even speak. Chu Tian patted her back to calm her down. "What's wrong with you? It's only been a while and you're already exhausted." "Big brother Chu Tian, it's easy for you to say, but you almost tired me to death." Vivian had to teleport every 30 seconds and she was carrying a person and a fox, so it could be imagined how much energy she used up. "Big brother, don't you have innate spatial energy? This short distance can be covered by yourself." This little girl was still complaining. "I have many abilities, but I'm not good at it. If it's just spatial manipulation, how can I compare to you?" Chu Tian shamelessly flattered the little elf and then sincerely said, "We have to be very precise in the enemy's fortress, we can't teleport more than half a meter away. This is also a chance for you to train yourself, allowing you to increase your strength as soon as possible. I feel that with your innate talent, if your cultivation base increases a bit, you won't even need to show yourself in the future. You just need to open up space and place bombs through it." "Is that so? I will work hard." Vivian's thoughts were simple and she immediately believed him. "Then what do we do now?" The little foxes divine, I could see the entire situation in the fortress. Chu Tian had brought Vivian to place large amounts of source energy bombs, and it had been very smooth from start to finish, not leaving a single trace. Now they just had to wait for the fleet to arrive. Dawn was about to pass, and the sky was about to light up when the Southern Xia fleet finally appeared. This fleet was very large, with several hundred warships. There were several warships at the front that were equipped with source energy cannons. They were currently lined up on the lake and their momentum was very large. The war hounds were not blind. How could they not notice this? Alert! There are large amounts of warships on the lake. Damn! The Southern Summer Monkeys. It's the Southern Summer Monkeys. Dispatch the fleet, dispatch the Air Force, immediately sink these monkeys. When the Southern Summer Fleet was still a few hours away from the port, the entire fortress began to prepare. The war hounds had occupied the north for over half a year, so it was impossible for them to not do anything. In fact, there were over 100 warships docked at the Tsang State Port, all of them collected by the war hounds through various methods. These port fleets had just received orders from the fortress and were about to leave the port to prepare for battle, but they immediately exploded one by one. The giant shark gang had placed source energy bombs under the warships, and before the two sides even made contact, most of the war hounds' ships had already been destroyed. The war hounds were in chaos. At this moment the Air Force was deployed. The war hounds' air superiority was the only advantage they had over Southern Xia. Although Southern Xia had the airships, they were too big and didn't have enough mobility. Other than the Heaven's Punishment airships that could shoot high up in the sky, their air force was very weak. Chu Tian gave a cold laugh, truly seeking death. When the war hounds' air force was prepared to dive down on the warships, the front row of warships suddenly released a storm of light bullets. Several tens of thousands of energy bullets filled the sky and the war hounds' vulture riders were instantly torn to pieces. The broken pieces fell into the lake and dyed the lake red. Source energy spears. These were clearly source energy spears. The war hounds' spirit beasts knew that Southern Xia's army was equipped with quite a few of these weapons and were prepared to be attacked by them, but they thought that as long as they charged forward, the threat of these weapons would be a joke. In the end, they never would have thought that Southern Xia's attack would be 10 times stronger than they had imagined. Southern State's 30,000 reserve army had arrived. This was an army that Miracle Commerce had trained for themselves. Miracle Commerce did not hesitate to invest in this army. The 30,000 barbarian berserkers not only had shocking close combat strength, they were divided into teams of 10 and each team had at least one storm rifle and one source energy cannon. The other members had submachine guns. 30,000 people meant 3,000 storm rifles. 3,000 storm rifles meant it was enough to create a storm of death. Not to mention the fact that Miracle Commerce had developed a multi-barreled heavy firearm that had a total of 6 barrels and could fire 5,000–6,000 bullets per minute. This was a weapon that was even more violent than the storm rifles, and Miracle Commerce's weapon designers called it the Destruction Heavy Rifle. Although it couldn't be moved, once it was fixed, it could instantly create a strong suppressive fire in an area. Because of the high material requirements and high energy requirements, there was not enough production of these heavy machine guns. The entire army only had 10 of them, but it was enough to create a terrifying killing effect. With this kind of disparity in strength, was there even a need to fight? It wasn't that Chu Tian looked down on these fellows. Not to mention their current numbers, even if the war hounds increased their numbers by 3-5 times, they still wouldn't be able to pose a threat to the Southern Summer Fleet. Miracle Commerce bought large amounts of materials and metals from all over the world, and most of them were used to create the source energy weapons. They had never sold large amounts of weapons from start to finish and used all of their high-end weapons on their own army, selling the rest to Southern Xia. The current destructive power of this army was not something any army could imagine. The war hounds' aerial forces collapsed as soon as they clashed with the Southern Xia fleet. Only a small portion of them escaped in a sorry state, not daring to approach Southern Xia's army again. Seal the fortress! Seal the fortress! Several wolf race commanders roared out in shock and anger. They never would have thought that the Southern Summer Country would become this powerful. Their weapons' progress was just too fast. It hadn't even been a year since the Imperial City battle, and their firepower had increased by more than 10 times. The war hounds' fortress soldiers were busy preparing their defenses. Several dozen earth-shattering explosions came from the fortress. The source energy bombs that Chu Tian and Vivian had secretly placed had all exploded. Although it was just several dozen source energy bombs, even if they were the most powerful bombs, it was not enough to destroy the several 100,000 soldiers. However, not killing them did not mean they had no effect. The source energy bombs were placed in important areas of the fortress, and this series of explosions not only caused the fortress defenses to collapse, it also caused all kinds of fortifications to lose their effectiveness. The fortress soldiers were in a mess, already falling into chaos. The Southern Summer Army had enough time to reach the port. The source energy cannons on the ships began to wildly bombard, turning the war hound ships and port into ruins. Fully armed barbarian berserkers began to disembark. The war hounds' port guards could not stop them. Miracle Commerce's berserker heavy infantry disembarked without any obstructions. These barbarian soldiers were armed to the teeth as they charged towards the exploding and burning fortress several miles away, preparing all kinds of equipment. It was almost at the same time. Several airships appeared above the war hound's fortress, and one of the Heaven's Punishment airships had already opened its bomb bay. As long as Miracle Commerce gave the order to attack, countless powerful bombs would rain down on the fortress. It's over. It was completely over. The war hound's fortress was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Whether it was the berserker army, the bombing airships, or the over 100,000 soldiers of Southern Xia, the fortress was in chaos and there was no way to stop them at all. Although the spirit beasts were fierce by nature, facing this absolute disadvantage, they were filled with despair. They couldn't even display the spirit of a trapped beast. Chu Tian saw that the situation was about right. He picked up a communication device and opened the public channel. Everyone pay attention, stop attacking. Everyone pay attention, stop attacking. All the attacking forces stopped attacking. But the air, land, and water forces were already suppressing the fortress. Countless weapons were still aimed at the fortress, and the war hounds did not have any leeway to fight back. Connect to the airship loudspeakers. Chu Tian's communication device was connected to the loudspeakers on the airship. His voice could be transmitted to the entire fortress through these loudspeakers, allowing every soldier in the fortress to hear him clearly. Good friends, I am called Chu Tian. I think everyone knows me, so I'm too lazy to introduce myself. With the current situation, you have no chance of winning. I'll give you a chance to live. Kill the Eagle Burial Kingdom's commander, put down your weapons, and surrender. I swear on my honor that I will not kill or mistreat any captives. Don't believe them. The expressions of the two commanders from the Eagle Burial Kingdom fell. Humans are despicable and cunning. They can't be trusted. We have already displayed our strength. There is no chance for us in this battle. Even if the Eagle Burial Kingdom personally comes, Miracle Commerce and Southern Xia are not afraid at all. Since there is no need to fight this battle, Why do you need to make pointless sacrifices for the eagle burial kingdom? I'll give you 5 minutes. If the reply I want doesn't appear, I can only turn this place into scorched earth and set the entire war-hound plains on fire. I'll slaughter your entire tribe. This was a blatant threat. Did the war-hound's people have a choice? The spirit beasts were fierce by nature. They knew that with the current situation, it was impossible to take down southern Xia. Under the survival instincts of wild beasts, there was an uproar in the fortress. Not long past. This uproar calmed down. The 2 Eagle Burial Kingdom commanders and several dozen high-ranking Eagle Burial Kingdom generals were killed. The several 100,000 fortress soldiers threw down their weapons and raised their hands in surrender. The southern Xia people were a bit confused. Southern Xia clearly had the advantage, so why did they let go of these forces? If these several 100,000 people were killed, the war-hounds would be heavily injured and it would be hard for them to recover. Our true enemy is the Eagle Burial Kingdom, and the war-hounds' plains are the buffer between the Eagle Burial Kingdom and the Southern Summer Kingdom. As long as we force the war-hounds to betray the Eagle Burial Kingdom, the war-hounds' plains will automatically become our buffer against the Eagle Burial Kingdom. Not only can we not kill these war-hounds' plains soldiers, we must release them when necessary and even provide them with some equipment and help. Chu Tian said this before adding another point. Other than that, with this example of not killing captives, it will be much easier for us to recover later on. It was like what Chu Tian said. Not only did the Southern Summer Kingdom not kill these several 100,000 soldiers, they even fed them well. When Southern Xia sent out 3 armies to recover the imperial region, Furnace State and Song State, they were unobstructed. The war-hounds already had no confidence and their morale was low. Now that their main force of several 100,000 had been defeated, what reason did they have to put up a desperate resistance? The Southern Xia army opened up 1,000 miles and finally regained all the land they lost half a year ago. Chapter 456. The war-hound's southern fortress was effortlessly captured by the Southern Summer Country. The general situation was set in stone, and there was no other way to change it. So what if the war-hound's plains had tens of millions of spirit beasts as soldiers? Fighting in this world was never about numbers. Miracle Commerce's 30,000 berserkers could kill hundreds of thousands of enemies as easily as drinking water. The war-hound's elites had been seriously consumed over a long period of time, and after several large battles, how could they have any excess left? Not to mention that war was not about military strength, but rather national strength. The war-hound's kingdom had already gone through many hardships, so how could they raise another large army? The several 100,000 soldiers in the southern fortress were just relying on the food and resources they had plundered from southern Xia. After the several 100,000 elite soldiers surrendered, the war-hound's plains did not have any soldiers or food. On the other hand, Chu Tian's subordinates were like clouds, and Arnold led the forest locals to instantly kill the prairie expert. Even if they were placed in the Eagle Burial Warring Kingdom, they would still be considered first or second-class experts. It was because of this that when Chu Tian attacked Imperial City, Arnold and several dozen people charged forward, but when they returned, they did not know who the Fong King was. Everyone searched and found that the new War-Hound's king had been killed by several dozen people. This pitiful War-Hound's king had truly died a useless death. Arnold did not realize that he was a king at all and treated him like a lackey. The entire imperial region, Song State, and Furnace State had all been captured. The War-Hound's plains were like dried oil lamps. How could they resist the powerful southern summer country? The War-Hound's kingdom, this regime that had been established for less than half a year, had already collapsed. The large tribes of the War-Hound's plains had suffered heavy losses. It could be said that they tried to steal a chicken but ended up losing the rice used to lure it. They would most likely blame each other, and the entire plains would return to their scattered state, with no chance of a comeback. when they returned to the former imperial city of the southern summer country. This city did not have the prosperity of several hundred years. In that incomparably tragic imperial city battle, 2 of the 3 rulers of the southern summer 3 rulers had died and over 100,000 soldiers had been bathed in blood. In the end, the city had formed a resistance army of several 100,000. Unfortunately, resistance was futile. In the Battle of Imperial City, a third of the city was destroyed and the population was reduced by a fifth. After the war hounds took over Imperial City, they looted the entire city and took all the treasures and resources. They turned the humans into spirit beast slaves and killed anyone who resisted, reducing the population by another fifth. The war hounds' southern attack had failed and the entire army had suffered heavy losses, but luckily the previous Fang king had foresight and left the elite demon wolf cavalry in the imperial region. So although the entire army had been wiped out and the Fang king had died, the war hounds still had enough strength to defend their rear. The Eagle Burial Kingdom urgently sent a new king. Because the warring kingdom was in a tight situation on all sides, the Eagle Burial Kingdom was fighting at least 8 countries at the same time, so they did not have any extra strength to attack the small southern summer country. This war hound's king could not wait for reinforcements, so he could only learn from his predecessor's failure. He decided to prepare for a long battle. The war hound's king enslaved several million humans, opening up fields in the wilderness to provide supplies for the war hounds. He enslaved several million people to build the southern fortress and repair the destroyed docks to prepare for a long battle. He enslaved several million people to build ships and forge equipment to prepare for the battle in the future. In order to not give southern Xia a chance to breathe, he sent out teams to disturb them. During this process, there were at least 10 million people who were forced to work. They were beaten to death, worked to death, starved to death, ran away, and resisted. In short, the remaining population was reduced to less than half. The war, enslavement, and running for their lives caused almost all the adult males to die. As for the females, this was relatively lucky because the spirit beasts had no interest in human women, but their lack of interest did not mean other people had no interest. The war hound's king prepared more resources and funds, so he ordered his army to capture large amounts of young and beautiful human women and sell them to the northern countries. However, because it was troublesome and took a long time, there weren't many sold, but it still caused quite a bit of population loss. In short, after half a year of war, the people had no way to live. The northern population was less than a fourth of what it used to be. When the old imperial city's scorched black gates were opened, the once bustling streets were filled with collapsed walls. The stench filled the air and it was a complete mess. There were no adult males in sight and the ones that came out were all women, children, and old people. They were all wearing ragged clothes and hugging their clothes. How could there be any of the proud citizens of Imperial City? They were simply a group of beggars. Our king has finally returned. We knew that the southern summer country would not abandon us. Long live the southern summer country, long live the southern summer country, long live the southern summer country. Countless beggars cried out as they gathered on the street. This scene was undoubtedly very touching. They were once proud citizens of Imperial City, living rich lives, but now their families had been torn apart. The southern summer king revealed a look of shame. All of this was because the northern defenses were not good and they finally gave up on Imperial City and the 2 northern states. The southern summer king was the calm martial ruler of the southern summer country, the commander of the army and the highest commander on the front lines. Everything becoming like this was a major dereliction of duty on his part. The war hounds are destined to be destroyed. The war hounds' planes will no longer be able to cause trouble. The southern summer country will work with miracle commerce to conquer them. Everyone needs to quickly rebuild their homes. The southern summer people quickly comforted the refugees. The Meng Qingwu sisters, Nangong Yun, Vivian, and the others all revealed pained expressions. especially the emotional Meng Yingying. She simply did not dare believe that in just half a year, Imperial City had turned into a ghost city. The citizens were all skin and bones from starvation, living like lonely ghosts in the ruins. Was this the cruelty of war? Meng Yingying felt a strong sense of guilt. Southern Xia's northern side had fallen and the tens of millions of people were suffering, but she still lived a rich life, almost forgetting about this place. Thinking about it, if this world did not have Chu Tian, perhaps all of southern Xia would not have been able to escape. How could she be any better than these people? Although it was not her responsibility, she still felt a strong sense of guilt. Meng Yingying pulled on Chu Tian's clothes. Let's help them rebuild the city. Chu Tian gave a slight nod. Rebuilding the homeland is easy, but defending it is hard. We need to take care of the northern side, only then can we prevent this matter from happening again. Meng Qingwu ordered Vivian to use the space warehouse to bring large amounts of medicine and supplies to the refugees, which could temporarily alleviate the urgent situation. The southern reinforcements would arrive in a few days, so there was no need to worry about this matter. They sat together for a meeting. The contents of this meeting were how to repair southern Xia, how to deal with the prisoners, and how to clean up the northern prairies. The War Hounds King's strategy was very conservative, but strictly speaking, it was correct. The War Hounds madly enslaved humans to open up land, build forts, build ships, and make equipment. 1. They could accumulate strength, and 2. They could wait for the best time. The only thing they didn't expect was that southern Xia was changing too quickly. Now the War Hounds' kingdom was finished. Southern Xia had captured at least 800,000 spirit beasts in the Imperial region, Song State and Furnace State, including the 100,000 demon wolf cavalry from the Eagle Burial Kingdom. How to deal with these troops was a headache. According to reason, these were all evil invaders. They should have burned them all in the old imperial city to vent the anger of the people and raise morale, but reason told everyone that this wasn't right. 60 to 70% of the prisoners were elites of the War Hounds Plains, and the rest were sent by the Eagle Burial Kingdom. Now that they had betrayed the Eagle Burial Kingdom, if they could use them, this strength could become a barrier for the southern summer country to defend against the Eagle Burial Kingdom's invasion in the north. Chu Tian once again gave his opinion. I think that when we return the War Hounds Plains, we can create a puppet regime in the War Hounds Plains and create a northern militant kingdom. We can only be assured if we control the plains in our hands. Prop up a puppet regime? The Southern Summer King agreed in his heart, but the possibility of it being implemented was not high. The War Hounds and the Southern Summer Country are old enemies. Is it easy to create a puppet regime? Actually, it's not hard. We can leave this matter to miracle commerce. Meng Qingwu began to plan. We have many experts in the forest. Whether it is spirit beasts or other races, there are quite a few of them. We can send a few strong spirit beasts to establish a colonial power in the War Hounds Plains. Other than that, the shaman priest Luz, I think he should be very interested in developing his shaman religion on the plains. Chu Tian's eyes lit up. The War Hounds Plains is a natural fertile land for the shaman religion, and we have all seen the shaman sorcerer's methods. With Luz's ability and our miracle commerce's strength, it won't take long for those thorns to be controlled. Whether it is convincing or being controlled by goo insects, there are ways to make them kneel at our feet. That's right, we can imitate the Eagle Burial Kingdom's method and use their colonial power to rule the War Hounds Plains, using their faith to consolidate their rule. When we completely control the plains, whether it is the plains or miracle commerce, we can create a win-win situation. I think that as long as the tribes of the plains aren't stupid, they will give up on the Eagle Burial Kingdom and join us. The Southern Summer King saw that the two of them were filled with confidence, so he asked in a probing voice, "Are you confident?" Sending several 100,000 elites back to the plains, Southern Xia would have to bear a large risk. Southern Summer King doesn't need to worry. We just need to choose a suitable northern militant king, and the northern militant kingdom will be established in a few months. Chu Tian swept his eyes over the vast prairies. Right now our momentum is at its peak, so why don't we take back the ancestral lands of the southern summer country? From now on, we'll call the country Great Summer. With this said, even the southern summer king with his calm personality revealed an excited expression. Gu Qianxiu and Yun Tianhe were filled with joy. The wish of southern Xia was to take back their ancestral land and rebuild Great Summer. This goal was already right in front of them. Although the kingdom's current national strength and population did not live up to its name, with the kingdom's current potential and speed of development, the Great Summer country's name was well deserved. Chapter 457. Establishing a northern militant country puppet regime on the Warhounds Plains was not a spur-of-the-moment decision, rather it was a strategic decision made by Miracle City. Whether it was Chu Tian or Meng Qingwu, they both recognized a problem. Miracle Commerce was an outside power, so it was not an easy matter for them to expand in the Forest of Chaos. The Forest of Chaos was an endless civilized wilderness on the surface, but the seemingly barren wasteland was actually very complicated. The entire Forest of Chaos was filled with large amounts of hidden powers. Miracle Commerce was a subsidiary power of the Eternal Forest in name, but they did not have enough support from the Eternal Forest. They might not be able to feel it at the start, but before long, all the powers would come from all directions. It wasn't hard to foresee that Miracle Commerce would be hindered in the future. Not to mention expanding their territory to attack cities, even if they built factories, built barracks, or mined large amounts, it would attract the jealousy of others. Now they could use this chance to release a portion of their strength and resources and export them to the outside world to establish a power. Using Miracle Commerce's superiority in transportation, they would not be limited by space even if they were tens of thousands of miles away, allowing them to invest and expand. The northern militant country puppet regime had a large significance. This would be an independent kingdom under Miracle Commerce's control. Meng Qingwu had studied the northern plains of the southern summer country. This plains was very large, including the Imperial Region Plains, Song State Plains, and the Warhounds Plains. Moreover, it extended in all directions, covering an area of several tens of millions of square kilometers. It was like the borders of 4-5 kingdoms, so the natural foundation was not bad. It was just that the native spirit beasts were too stupid. The Warhounds Plains occupied 60% of the plains, spanning over 10,000 miles. The terrain was smooth and there were no natural barriers, so it could become the center of a region in the future. The Warhounds Plains was not a barren land. There were tens of millions of spirit beasts and hundreds of thousands of miles of fertile plains. Whether it was the population, soil, or resources, they all had a lot of value to develop. It was just that the stupid spirit beasts did not know how to develop it. Once the puppet regime was established on the Warhounds Plains, the southern Xia side would also give them a large amount of support because the north was stable and the resources could be shared. This was in line with the Great Summer country's core benefit. If the north and south were connected like this, they would not lose to a warring kingdom-level kingdom. And so it was happily decided. Chu Tian made a decision on the spot. Dongfang Haoran, you will be stationed on the Warhounds Plains front lines and stabilize the situation there. Luz will bring the shaman priests to the Warhounds Plains to spread the shaman religion. Arnold, you can think of a way to win over the Warhounds Plains. This land is very fertile. How much territory and people you can steal will all depend on your own abilities. Everyone was tempted, especially the orc Luz. Luz was the chief priest of Miracle City's shaman religion, and he knew that the Warhounds Plains was suitable for establishing the shaman religion. The large Warhounds tribes were poor and now they were facing a bitter defeat, so it was the best time for a religion to invade. As long as Miracle Commerce provided material support, the orthodox shaman religion would spread in this land. Only Luz was a bit worried. He hesitantly said, "Sir City Lord, although the prairies are good, it is too far from the forest. Although the transport tower can directly reach Central State, it will take several days to reach the Warhounds tribe from Central State. I'm afraid there won't be enough manpower." How could I not have thought of this problem? You can be assured I won't be idle. From Central State to the Warhounds country, the distance is a bit big. For efficiency, I will build a transport tower in the northern militant country as soon as possible. In the future, the northern militant country's transport tower will connect to Miracle City's transport tower, and you can go back and forth at any time. The tribe chiefs were overjoyed. This was truly a large piece of good news. If the prairies had a transport tower, what difference was there from Miracle City's back garden? Miracle City's people could come and go as they pleased. There was no need to worry about managing them like this. These tribal chiefs could freely recruit soldiers and buy horses in this region to establish their power. Everyone excitedly received their orders and left. The Warhounds Plains has a transport tower, so it will naturally be more convenient. Meng Qingwu asked with knit brows, "But we really can't take out the materials to build the transport tower." This was also the problem that gave Chu Tian a headache. There was the Eye of the Star, the core material for the transport tower. But there weren't enough spatial crystals to use at all. The known materials had already been used up by Chu Tian. How could this kind of rare material be easily obtained? There was no other choice. They could only search and do their best to search. Chu Tian said, "We'll split up and search. The young miss will be in charge of purchasing materials in the forest, and I'll go to the north and other regions, searching in the markets of the surrounding large countries. I think there will be some harvest. I'll also use this chance to open up several markets for miracle commerce and inquire about the situation of the nearby kingdoms." The northern militant country's regime could not be established overnight. Miracle commerce did not lack money or resources, it was only a matter of time. Meng Qingwu brought people back to Miracle City. Miracle City was still full of things to do, they couldn't be without a leader for a long time. She was in a rush to deploy the smart brain and establish the city's intelligent management system. Chu Tian was very bored staying in the forest for several months. Using the excuse of purchasing materials and establishing the northern militant country's regime, he planned to take a look around the nearby countries, so he was not in a rush to return. Nangong, Vivian, and the others all had missions, so although they wanted to follow Chu Tian, they couldn't leave right now, so they could only obediently follow the young miss back to the city. 1 week later, the Southern Summer King, Dongfang Gan, announced in the old imperial city that the country would be changed to Great Summer. The north had been heavily damaged, and for the development of the kingdom, the Great Summer country made Central State City the new capital. Furnace State and Song State remained the same, but the imperial region and the lost land in the north were divided into 7 new states. The Great Xia Kingdom didn't have the intention to continue expanding to the north. They expanded to the south, west, and east. They occupied more desolate lands and established 3 more prefectures. The Great Xia Kingdom had a total of 16 prefectures and counties, which was more than double the original size. In terms of land area, the Great Xia Kingdom was already a large kingdom in name and in reality. The Great Summer King once again created marquises. The 3 southern and 3 northern states were all controlled by people who held important positions in miracle commerce and had a high status in the Great Summer country. For example, Dongfang Haoren, Gu Qianqiu, Yun Tianhe, as well as the Nangong family and Shangguan family. These 6 areas were made into special administrative areas by the Great Summer country. They were areas developed and managed by Miracle Commerce and the Great Summer country. They supported Miracle Commerce's factories, cities, and army training camps, and they did not collect any taxes at all. Other than that, the country-guarding ruler Chu Tian was given the title of Great Summer Country Scholar, and the Yun Meng monarch Meng Qingwu was given the title of Great Summer Foreign Minister. Dongfang Gan was very clear that the Great Summer country's prosperity could not be separated from miracle commerce, and miracle commerce needed the Great Summer country. The two of them were mutually beneficial in order to achieve a win-win situation. What was there to care about with a few more empty titles? Chu Tian had already said that even if the Southern Summer King's throne was given to him, he would not be interested, not to mention this kind of empty title. When the Great Summer Country held the title ceremony and National Day ceremony, he did not even attend. At this time, Chu Tian was bringing the two young and big beauties, galloping into the depths of the prairies. This was a business trip, so Chu Tian was not in a rush to finish his mission. He immediately brought Meng Yingying to have fun on the prairies. Meng Yingying was very happy playing. The prairie scenery was completely different. In this week, she had visited various ancient ruins and mixed into the nomadic tribes. She had seen the magnificent scene of 10,000 horses galloping. There were no external enemies or internal threats. She had Chu Tian by her side every day. They camped together and played together. This was simply one of the happiest moments of her life. On this day, as the sun set, Chu Tian and Meng Yingying were tired from playing. The two of them sat shoulder to shoulder on a ball of grass as they watched the sunset. The fiery red sunset dyed the entire sky red, and the prairie was also illuminated in a beautiful golden red color. This boundless and boundless grassland was truly enchanting and pleasing to the eye. Meng Yingying's hands were hugging her knees and the sunset dyed her white jade-like face red. She said in a casual voice, "Hey, Chu Tian, we've known each other for over a year. Have you forgotten to say something to me?" "Say what?" "You know it in your heart." Meng Yingying fiercely glared at him. "Humph, I'm telling you, you can't just leave this matter hanging. I'm almost an adult, so if you don't make a move, I won't wait for you." Chu Tian pretended to be stupid. "Yingying, what do you want to say? Why can't I understand anything at all?" The happy mood that Meng Yingying had accumulated over the past few days was suddenly destroyed by this damn fellow. She had already said it this clearly, but this fellow still pretended to be stupid. She gave an angry snort and stood up to leave. "Just wait to regret it. I'm ignoring you." Chu Tian gave a laugh. As soon as she turned around, he immediately reached out to grab her slender waist. You rogue." Meng Yingying's face turned as red as an apple. She struggled a few times and then half pushed and half leaned into his embrace. "You're bullying me, I'll go back and tell my elder sister." "Yingying, you're right, there are some things that can't be dilly-dallied." Chu Tian completely ignored Meng Yingying's threat. He closed his eyes and sniffed the fragrance coming from the girl's hair. "Let's get married." Meng Yingying felt her mind go blank. What was this bastard's brain thinking? The two of them hadn't even officially started dating yet, but he had already skipped this step. This fellow's way of thinking was hard to accept. Meng Yingying found that she could never keep up with this bastard's thinking. You're not willing." Chu Tian let go and said with a shrug, "Then forget it." No. "I didn't say I'm not willing, don't misunderstand." Meng Yingying quickly shouted, but then felt that it was a bit inappropriate. "It's just. This is a bit too rushed. Also, what about elder sister and the others?" It was a bit inappropriate to bring this up at this time. Chu Tian's brows immediately knit together. Although there were many beautiful women by his side, and they were all very outstanding, in comparison, he had known Yingying the longest, so his feelings for her were the purest. The young miss was a great beauty with peerless talent. It was impossible for any normal man not to be moved. The amount of time that Chu Tian spent with the young miss, their interactions, and their feelings were not less than Yingying's, but it was more of a cooperative relationship between colleagues and friends, so it wasn't as natural and sincere as when he was with Yingying. Chu Tian couldn't say who was better, but he felt the most comfortable with Yingying. "Humph, I'm not blind, this problem can't be avoided. Elder sister definitely likes you. Meng Yingying indignantly said, there's also Nangong, Vivian, and the others. Even if they don't have that kind of feeling for you, they still worship you and most likely don't have the ability to resist you. I really don't know what's so good about a fellow like you. You have so many problems, but you can still seduce so many women. He really couldn't see it. This little lass was quite perceptive. Chu Tian said with a helpless face, it's my fault that my charm is too high, I'm actually very low-key. I swear to the heavens, I've never taken the initiative to seduce anyone. Meng Yingying gave an unhappy snort. There was no rigid monogamy on the continent. No matter if it was a man or woman, as long as they were outstanding enough, it wasn't strange for them to have multiple partners. It could even be considered a normal matter. Yingying admitted that she was a bit narrow-minded, but she wasn't a stingy person. What made her confused and annoyed was her inferiority complex. That's right. It was inferiority complex. This inferiority complex didn't just come from Chu Tian's excellence, which made her feel that her birth was ordinary and her talent was mediocre, but it also came from a series of strong competitors. Her elder sister, Nangong, and Vivian, each one of them was outstanding. They had strong abilities, good talent, and high birth. These people had a good relationship with her, and she didn't reject them, but there was a sense of crisis deep in her heart. She felt that she wasn't as good as any one of them. It was because of this that the lazy and playful Yingying had completely changed over the past year. She did her best to stay up late and study, working hard to invent the canned food, help develop the space warehouse, help create the spiritual illusion, and etc. Yingying was different from her elder sister Meng Qingwu. She didn't have any ambitions, she just wanted to catch up. Stupid girl, there really is something wrong with your brain. What are you thinking about all these random things for? Chu Tian could feel the girl's complex and contradictory feelings. He revealed a faint smile and used his hand to support her beautiful face. The Yingying I like will always be unique and no one can compare to you. After saying this, he slightly lowered his head and kissed the girl's tender lip. Under the beautiful setting sun, the two of them tightly hugged each other. Chapter 458. Meng Yingying was stunned for a few seconds and her blurred eyes became hazy. She didn't resist and slowly closed her eyes. A crystal-clear tear came out from the corner of her eye. It was tears of joy. It was strange to say. Before Meng Yingying met Chu Tian, she couldn't understand the matters of love. Ever since this fellow Chu Tian appeared in her life, her heart was immediately occupied by this fellow. This was the first time she had fallen in love with someone. Was this the so-called love at first sight? This fellow was clearly bad and he often made her angry. She didn't know why, but she couldn't escape his shadow in her life. No matter what time or situation, as long as she was with Chu Tian, she would feel very happy and satisfied. Whether it was eating, sleeping, or even breathing, she would think of him. She felt like there was an invisible string connected to the other side, and no matter where she went, she couldn't forget that thought. If she didn't see him for a day, she would feel incomparably empty. Meng Yingying was clear in her heart that Chu Tian had a good impression of her. She didn't have much confidence in herself, and this moment had come too suddenly, making Meng Yingying feel at a loss. She didn't know how to react at this moment. Forget it, she would just give up. Coo! There was a light cough. Chen Bingyu appeared on the small hill like a ghost. Although her face was covered and her expression couldn't be seen, her eyes were still staring at the two of them. Her eyes were filled with a complex and strange light as she said in her usual indifferent voice, "I'm really sorry, I've disturbed you." Meng Yingying quickly jumped up like a frightened rabbit. "Big sister Bingyu, it's not like this, it's all his fault." Fuck. This woman who came and went like a ghost, she actually ruined my good matter. Can you not be so exaggerated? We are in a relationship, not having an affair. Chu Tian casually pulled her over. "Big sister Bing, you came at the right time. I've already decided to marry Yingying. Shouldn't you celebrate? Chen Bingyu's expression didn't change at all. I really must congratulate you. Meng Yingying couldn't take it anymore. She put her hands on her hips and shouted, Hey, you hooligan, did I agree? You're just talking nonsense. What? You don't agree? I didn't say that I don't agree. Yes, I just feel that, we're not that old, there's no rush. No, it's not that there's no rush, it's just. Meng Yingying started to speak incoherently. The more she spoke, the redder her face became. In the end, she lowered her head and muttered, We have to pick a suitable time and opportunity. It won't be good if we're abrupt like this. Chu Tian grinned and wanted to tease him a little more. I think that this kind of thing should be discussed in private. Chen Bingyu didn't seem to want to watch anymore. Luz has made some progress, he needs to take some time out of his busy schedule to deal with it. Meng Yingying seemed to have finally found a chance to escape. She quickly seized the opportunity and asked, What's going on? Isn't Luz preparing to establish the shaman religion on the prairies? How could he encounter trouble? Chen Bingyu replied, There are several large nomadic tribes in the western part of the prairies that have collapsed. It should be because of the battle with southern Xia that drained their savings, and adding in the beast plague that caused the beasts to die, it finally caused the entire tribe to collapse, forming a large number of refugees. Luz hopes to absorb them and establish his influence like this. Understood. The War Hounds' plains were already empty due to internal strife, and they had been fighting with southern Xia for over half a year. The large tribe's lives were unspeakably bitter, and there were many people who didn't have food to eat. It was because the War Hounds' tribes were in a difficult situation that gave Chu Tian the chance to occupy this area. The collapse of several tribes had formed a large number of refugees. Wasn't this a good time for the church to spread their teachings? Luz hoped that Chu Tian could use Miracle Commerce's space warehouse to transport enough food to help these refugees. Let's dress up before we go. Chu Tian's name was not famous in a barbaric place like the War Hounds' plains, but Chu Tian and Meng Yingying were humans in the end. The War Hounds and humans had been mortal enemies for thousands of years, so if they interfered as humans, it would not be good for them. After half a day, the three of them found Luz. The disguise of the three of them was not complicated. They just put on a large and bulky robe, and put on masks and gloves, not revealing any part of their bodies. Finally, they used some kind of medicine to change their human scent. Luz respectfully cupped his hands to Chu Tian, Sir City Lord. Chu Tian sized up the surrounding situation. Other than the shaman priests led by Luz, there were several forest chiefs who were maintaining order. There were around 40–50,000 refugees gathered. This scale was enough to form a medium to large tribe on the War Hounds' plains. From the current situation, this number could still increase. All of these people were sick, starving, and emaciated to the point of being skin and bones. They didn't seem like vicious plunderers at all. They were simply a group of homeless stray dogs. The shaman god will guide any stray spirit beasts. Now let me see your pain. Chu Tian's voice was hoarse and deep, like he had used a voice-changing technique. He first looked at the tens of thousands of War Hounds refugees that were filled with longing and spoke a lot of comforting words in the spirit beast language. Then he began to examine their bodies. Other than being hungry, these people were also suffering from a very serious disease. This was a very malignant parasitic disease. Once it entered the host's body, it would wildly multiply. First it would nest in the stomach, then it would invade the internal organs, and finally it would enter the bloodstream. It would wildly absorb spirit energy, finally torturing the host to death. Moreover, contact was very contagious. One person would fall sick and the people they came into contact with would not be able to escape. There was no cure for it in the War Hounds' plains. Defeat, famine, and a contagious disease. These grandsons were truly unlucky. Chu Tian pretended to be mysterious and said a few prayers to the shaman god before leaving this place to make preparations. What do we do? I think their illness isn't light. Meng Yingying lifted her hood and immediately said, "We have several large warehouses in Central State that have canned food. I'll contact someone to send it over." "No, we won't use canned food this time." Chu Tian wrote down several recipes and a list. "Send these to the Central State Laboratory and have them refine the medicine according to this method." Meng Yingying did not understand alchemy, but Yingying had made quite a bit of progress in the past year. She found that these were all very cheap herbs, but since Chu Tian did not say anything, this matter should be easily taken care of. She immediately took out the communication device to contact Central State and had them quickly do it. 3 days later, the number of starving people had doubled and they couldn't hold on much longer. Chu Tian pulled over 10 large beast carriages and each beast carriage was filled with large boxes. The shaman priests let out a sigh of relief when they saw this and quickly shouted out, "Long live the shaman god," causing the starving warhound's citizens to loudly cheer. Luz revealed a confused expression. Why were there 10 carriages? There were already over 100,000 starving people here. Now that the news of the shaman religion helping the refugees had spread, perhaps there would be more refugees coming. How many people could eat with 10 beast carriages? It wouldn't even be enough to fill the gaps between the teeth of these people. Open it. What appeared in these boxes was not food as he had imagined. Instead, it was potions that had been stored in small jars. "This is the divine water bestowed by the shaman god." Chu Tian began to boast again. "This divine water can alleviate your illnesses and create large amounts of food for you to pass through." This time it wasn't just Luz, everyone's face was filled with shock. It was fine if the medicine could cure illnesses, but could it be used to fill one's stomach? Chu Tian took out a large bronze cauldron engraved with runes from the gourd. This bronze cauldron was a sacrificial tool used by the church, so it added a mysterious color to it. The shaman god said that everything in this world can be redeemed. Chu Tian said to everyone, "Now I ask everyone to send the grass into the cauldron. The shaman god's divine power will turn the fresh grass into food." Everyone was stunned when they heard this. How was this possible? Luz was filled with doubts, but he was afraid of being seen through, so he couldn't directly ask. He could only help by shouting, "Everyone follow the envoy's words, the shaman god will not lie to his believers." There wasn't much. Grass? There was as much grass as he wanted. The large cauldron was filled with bright green grass in less than 10 minutes. Chu Tian activated the source energy array engraved on the cauldron and a surge of energy came from the cauldron. It was like all the grass had been thrown into a grass grinder and was immediately compressed into a large paste. Chu Tian acted as if he was a ghost and poured a bottle of medicine inside. In the end, an incredible thing happened. The paste quickly changed and finally turned into a kind of dry food. It was like it was made from baked grain and it released an alluring fragrance. Pung! Chu Tian sent a palm at the cauldron. The dry rations were all ejected out, scattering among the refugees like a fairy scattering flowers. These refugees had long been starving, and when they smelled the alluring fragrance, they all rushed forward in a frenzy to snatch it. They were extremely hungry, and even if it was shit, as long as they could survive, they would eat it. But what was hard to believe was that the dry food made from grass not only filled their stomachs, it also tasted quite good. The most important thing was that when this dry food entered their stomachs, they could clearly feel their bodies quickly recovering. A miracle! This really is a miracle! The warhound's spirit beasts all kneeled down in worship. Wasn't this a miracle? Why did the warhounds invade southern summertime and time again? Wasn't it to survive? If even the cheapest grass could be turned into dry food, then the life of the warhound's spirit beasts and the warhound's plains would have a large change. You can all see it. Chu Tian loudly shouted, "The shaman god has turned grass into food. Now the entire warhounds and the entire prairies are food. This food can not only solve your hunger, it can also cure your illnesses. This is a gift from the great shaman god. You won't have to suffer from famine anymore." Luz was filled with admiration towards Chu Tian. If a few hundred tons of canned food were transported here, although the problem could be solved, the cost would be relatively high, and the effect would not be as good. However, he came up with such an unprecedented method, turning grass into food. Just this cauldron alone in this period of time, how many followers could the shaman religion attract? This move was just too beautiful. Chapter 459. Luz said in a grateful voice, "It's all thanks to Sir City Lord's help that several 100,000 people have gathered over the past 2 days. I think most of them can become shaman believers. We will pick out talented people to train into shaman sorcerers to work for the City Lord. The shaman religion originated from the spirit beast's religion, so there is a high chance of success in this area. With Miracle Commerce's support and the Forest of Chaos experts' help, if you can't succeed," Chu Tian looked at him, "don't come back to see me, just go eat shit and commit suicide." Luz wiped his sweat. Yes, we will definitely succeed." There was no problem with the Warhound Plains. The transport tower couldn't be delayed any longer. At this time, the great Summer King Dongfang Gan contacted Chu Tian. He had already prepared the map and information of the various countries, and also wanted Chu Tian's help. He hoped that Chu Tian could make a trip to the Great Summer northern capital. The Great Summer Imperial City was moved to the central state. The former Imperial City had been renamed the Northern Capital, and although it wasn't the capital, it was still several hundred years old, and was the #1 city in the north. When they announced their independence as the Great Summer Kingdom, all kinds of trouble came. A large kingdom was not just a name. Once they became a large kingdom, their diplomatic rank would be higher than a small kingdom's. The surrounding small kingdoms would even need to pay taxes to the large kingdoms. There weren't many interactions between countries in this era, unless it was a subordinate kingdom or a vassal kingdom. There were no geopolitical considerations. However, if there were several powers appearing in the same area, it would affect the interests and influence of those with benefits. The Warhound's kingdom was a subordinate kingdom of the Eagle Burial Kingdom. There was no other way. The Great Summer Country was an independent kingdom. How could it be easy for them to become a large kingdom? The surrounding countries all had opinions about the Great Summer Country, but these small kingdoms had limited abilities, so there was no need to care about them. What they needed to do now was to take care of the strong kingdoms. This did not conflict with Chu Tian's mission. Chu Tian wanted to find the incomparably precious spatial crystal, so he couldn't just run to the small kingdoms to look for it, right? Since it was like this, he would just do it. After obtaining the map and the relevant information, Chu Tian began his visit as a Great Summer Country's kingdom scholar. "I still don't understand." Meng Yingying was sitting on the airship. "How did you turn the weeds into food? These are clearly just weeds. Why do they have the ability to treat illnesses?" Actually, it's not hard to explain. The Warhound Plains soil is very fertile and contains a lot of spiritual energy. The grass can raise the beasts on the plains, which means it contains a lot of energy, but humans and demon beasts have different body structures, so they can't absorb it. Chu Tian paused for a bit before continuing. "I only used medicine and source energy arrays to make the grass easier to absorb. It can indeed fill one's stomach and maintain one's life, but it's not very nutritious, so it's not suitable for long-term consumption." Meng Yingying showed an expression of understanding. "So, the food can cure the disease because the antidote was mixed into the medicine? There are times when you aren't stupid." Pooh, you're the stupid one." The two of them sat on the airship, chatting and playing. Chen Bingyu sat cross-legged beside them, holding a cup of tea, not saying a word. Meng Yingying was tired of playing with Chu Tian. "Where are we preparing to go?" Chu Tian opened a large map with the Warhound Plains as the center. There were countries all around the Warhound Plains, with 3-4 small kingdoms in the north. Only these small kingdoms had smaller territories and populations than southern Xia, so they had already been annexed to the Eagle Burial Kingdom. So, to the north of these small kingdoms, there was a large kingdom territory. Although the map couldn't depict the entire Eagle Burial Kingdom, just a part of it was like Mount Tai was pressing down on the north. The Eagle Burial Kingdom was a spirit-beast warring kingdom and the only warring kingdom nearby. The Eagle Burial Kingdom and the Eagle Burial Kingdom's sphere of influence, Chu Tian had no interest at all. Because of the chaos of war, it was hard for these places to have a mature market, so it was unlikely he could find the materials he wanted. Chu Tian's eyes looked over all the large and small kingdoms around the Warhound's plains, finally falling on a country in the southwest corner that wasn't small. This country was long and narrow, not being big, but it was a place where several earth veins intersected, so it must be rich in resources. When Chu Tian saw the name of the country, he immediately thought of the bronze-masked old man he met in the Central State Black Market. Looking around, there are only a few large kingdoms. This is one. There hasn't been any large disturbances in several hundred years. Although the country isn't large, it is rich in resources, so the country's strength should be very strong. This is a large kingdom that is more worthy of its name than the Warhound's kingdom or the newly formed Great Summer Country. Let's go there. What is the name of its country? Great Zhou Country. But Meng Yingying and Chu Tian didn't have any reactions. Chen Bingyu, who had been sitting quietly, suddenly trembled, and the cup in her hand fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. Meng Yingying asked in a strange voice, "What's wrong with elder sister Bingyu?" Chen Bingyu realized that she had forgotten herself. "No, it's nothing." Meng Yingying's face was filled with confusion and Chu Tian also saw it. Chen Bingyu was hiding some secrets. This woman's background was not normal, and it was even possible that she wasn't a person from southern Xia. From her reaction, could she be related to the Great Zhou Country? The Great Zhou Country wasn't much larger than the southern Summer Country, but because of its strange shape, it was like a long snake twisting and turning. It allowed it to have direct or indirect contact with the Eagle Burial Kingdom, the Warhound's Plains, the southern Summer Country, and even the Forest of Chaos. In the ancient era, the Great Zhou Country was a very prosperous land, so there were many precious inheritances and ruins left behind. The Great Zhou Country was built on the inheritances of their ancestors, so there were many sects in the Great Zhou Country, all kinds of inheritances clashing with each other. This was a country of sects. There was no fixed royal family or noble class, it was mainly the sects that ruled the country. The Great Zhou Country was a relatively close neighbor, and also the strongest one. When Chu Tian visited the Great Zhou Country as a Great Summer Country scholar, it would be best if he could form an alliance with the Great Zhou Country. The Eagle Burial Kingdom dominated the north, always being a threat. If the Great Summer and Great Zhou countries joined together and supported the Northern Militant Kingdom as the vanguard, it wouldn't be hard to resist the Eagle Burial Kingdom. At least they could keep them in the north and not allow them to go south. Of course, it was hard to say if the Great Zhou country would give Chu Tian face. The airship flew tens of thousands of meters in the air. It was unknown how many deserts and plains they passed, but they finally left the Great Summer Country and the Great Prairies. Ancient cities and buildings appeared in their sight. The world was big and there were all kinds of strange things. Even if they were human countries, their customs were all different. The Great Zhou country's powers were hidden deep in the mountains, and the sects were built in sects rarely visited blessed lands. On the contrary, the power gathered in the secular world was not strong, and most of the cities were just representatives of sects in the secular world. They farmed elixirs and raised spirit beasts, finally needing to pay tribute to the large sects, using this method to obtain protection. They arrived at the Heavenly Een Mountain. The Heavenly Een Mountain was one of the Great Zhou country's 8 famous mountains, and it was said to be one of the most ancient ruins. One of the Great Zhou country's 6 large sects, the Black Moon sect, a sect that had existed for thousands of years. The surrounding large and small cities were all built around the heavenly Een mountain, belonging to the Black Moon sect's outer sect. Each city in the Black Moon sect's sphere of influence was the Black Moon sect's property. If there wasn't the Black Moon sect protecting them, these people wouldn't be able to survive here. Because of this, the people of the heavenly Een mountain treated the Black Moon sect as their highest duty. Most people would choose to join the Black Moon sect's outer sect as an outer sect disciple. If their talent was good enough, they could enter the heavenly Een mountain and become an inner sect disciple of the Black Moon sect, obtaining the Black Moon sect's thousands of years of inheritance. The Great Summer Country used states as geographical unit. The Great Zhou Country used mountain gates as geographical unit. This was very interesting. In order not to attract too much attention, Chu Tian decided to ride a normal griffin to discuss the situation. Although he was the Great Summer Country's official envoy, meeting the Great Zhou Country's king was a very troublesome matter. Wah, a griffin! It's actually a griffin! Chu Tian brought Chen Bingyu and Meng Yingying to a place called Een Gathering City, which should be one of the largest cities near the heavenly Een mountain. What made the three of them feel strange was that when they rode a griffin here, it immediately caused a stir. It was like the Een Gathering City citizens had never seen such a high-level mount before. Meng Yingying was puzzled. The Great Zhou Country is a large country. Why is a level 2 flying mount making such a big fuss out of nothing? The Great Zhou Country's peak strength is concentrated in the large mountain gate. Chen Bingyu said in a low voice, "These secular cities only have a few outer sect powers, they aren't that strong." The Great Zhou Country's strength was not evenly distributed. This was also a characteristic of sects like the Great Zhou Country. Chu Tian didn't care. When he was prepared to inquire about the situation, the crowd suddenly separated and a large group of black armored guards charged out. The one leading them was a large fatty wearing a jade robe. "What sect are you from?" This embroidered clothed fatty first looked at the griffin with a greedy gaze, then his gaze fell on Meng Yingying. He couldn't help but reveal a look of surprise and joy, but his tone was very arrogant. Without notifying, "Why did you charge into the heavenly Een mountains?" Chu Tian didn't come to cause trouble, so he cupped his hands and said, "I am a Great Summer Country scholar. I came to visit a famous mountain in the Great Zhou Country. May I ask?" "Great Summer Country? You're talking about the small country that was beaten half to death by the spirit beasts in the southeast?" After this fatty understood where Chu Tian's group came from, his attitude became even more disdainful. These people looked very young and they came from a small country, so they should be some young master or young miss that didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth to come here. "I am an outer sect elder of the Black Moon sect and a deacon of Een Gathering City. You trespassed into the heavenly Een mountain. This is already breaking the rules. Leave this griffin and use it as a tribute to the Black Moon sect." Meng Yingying was enraged. "It's been a long time since someone dared to bully us. This was intolerable. Fatty, why are you so unreasonable?" "Humph, this is the rule." "A griffin, no problem, no problem." Chu Tian patted Meng Yingying's shoulder as he comforted her. With his status, he didn't care about a level 2 demon beast. "This esteemed elder, can you introduce me to a high-level member of the Black Moon sect?" The fatty was a bit surprised. This brat just gave out a level 2 griffin like this? This griffin was worth at least 20 low-grade source stones. Could he have met a group of prodigal children? "My Black Moon sect is one of the famous sects of the Great Zhou Country. How could a nameless rat like you have the qualifications to visit us? Don't think that a single griffin can open the Black Moon sect's gates. However, if you're sincere, I can give you a chance." Fatty revealed a sinister expression. "Recently, I've been cultivating a strange dual cultivation technique. If you can lend me your female companion, I might be happy and agree." Chapter 460. Meng Yingying's body trembled with anger. Chu Tian was not angry, not because he could endure it, but rather because he was very puzzled. What was this pig's brain made of? He was probably one of the strongest people in Gathering City. He was used to being tyrannical, and he had the Black Moon sect behind him, so he was not afraid of these young people from small countries. But did he not notice that he couldn't see through the cultivation of these 3 young people? This damn pig was at most in the 5th to 6th awakened soul layer. With this level in Chu Tian's eyes, he couldn't even be considered trash. In the past, the third-rate experts in the Southern Summer Imperial City would be stronger than him by a large amount. Even in Central State City, he would only be considered second-rate. This kind of idiot was crazily shouting at true spirit cultivators, and he actually felt good about himself? For a poor and small country to be able to cultivate in a large country, this is the blessing of several lifetimes. I am an outer sect elder of the Black Moon sect, and many of my family's elders are in the Black Moon sect, so I will enter the inner sect sooner or later. At that time, I will have a status in the Great Zhou country. What this brat can give you, I can also give you, so why do you need to follow a young master from a small country? The fatty already saw Meng Yingying as something in his bag. I don't like to use force, so if you're tactful, then come over. Otherwise. Chu Tian shook his head. Yingying, if you can't hold it in, then don't hold it in. It wouldn't be good if you hurt your body, so I'll protect you if anything happens. The Black Moon sect's outer sect elder was stunned by Chu Tian's words. Meng Yingying released a dazzling glow of spirit energy, and a mirror appeared above her head. A giant flame bird appeared in the mirror and an incomparably hot flame spirit energy was released. It was accompanied by a clear and divine phoenix cry that resounded through the 9 heavens. The onlookers were all stunned. Chu Tian also revealed a shocked expression. Meng Yingying's mirror source spirit's main ability was to duplicate, but the duplication had its limits. If it was a high-level source spirit or a high-level cultivation technique, she could not duplicate it. Other than that, the source spirit was effective and the mirror image would disappear after a few days. Now not only could Yingying duplicate a god-level source spirit, she could also keep a mirror image. This meant that this girl's strength had increased by a lot and her source spirit had also increased with her strength, so she could keep a permanent mirror image. Although it was lacking compared to the real Fire Phoenix source spirit, it was still a very strong battle-type source spirit. Boom! Countless raging flames transformed into a pair of huge phoenix wings, and countless scorching and destructive divine flames flowed around her body, making her look like a goddess who controlled flames and the power of destruction. Even a blind person would be able to tell. This young girl's cultivation was probably far beyond his imagination. The fat man hurriedly shouted, "I'm an outer elder of the Xian Yin sect. This is the territory of the Tian Yin mountain. If you dare to touch a hair of mine, do you think you can escape unscathed? Humph, after following Chu Tian for so long, do you think you can scare me with this kind of threat?" But Meng Yingying gave a tender laugh. Heaven-burning fist. This move was clearly copied from Nangong Yun's body. A huge flaming fist smashed into the fatty's body, and that pitiful protective yuan qi evaporated like it had met with high-temperature water. The berserk flaming energy was like a flood that broke through a dam and instantly smashed into the opposite house, burning a hole in the ground along the way. Meng Yingying was shocked by herself. I actually became this strong. This fist clearly only used 20% of my strength. This damn fatty wouldn't have been killed by a single fist, right? The surrounding people began to shout out in fear. Ah, the elder has been hit. Such guts, actually daring to hit the Black Moon sect's outer sect elder in the Tian Yin mountain. Dozens of black-armored bodyguards surrounded them in anger and shock. Meng Yingying casually struck out with her palm again. This time, she only used 10% of her strength. The palm energy turned into raging flames and hit dozens of bodyguards. They were like dozens of logs that had been set on fire and fell to the ground. They screamed and beat the flames on their bodies. Not a single one of them was able to get up. Chu Tian walked in front of the stunned Meng Yingying and said with a smile, "How is it? Does beating people feel good?" She had never beaten people that bullied her like this before. It felt good enough, but wasn't it too much? "Sorry, I only used 10 to 20% of my strength." Meng Yingying had an embarrassed look. She looked at the people rolling on the ground and then looked at Chu Tian. "I never thought they would be this weak." This couldn't be blamed on her. Meng Yingying had little battle experience and her strength had increased very quickly, so she couldn't act as she pleased. "Hi, what's wrong with this? This is already considered light." Chu Tian shook his head. Nangong personally made a move. Even if she used 10% of her strength, she would have burned these fellows to ashes. Although she can duplicate the Fire Phoenix source spirit, she can't obtain its essence, so she has to work hard. Meng Yingying obtained Chu Tian's confirmation and immediately said with a smile, "Yes. The Great Zhou country's sects are very clear. Outsiders making a move in their territory is considered a great provocation." Chen Bingyu slightly knit her brows and reminded him, "The Black Moon sect is very strong, they have over 10 true spirit experts. I'm afraid we'll attract trouble." Chu Tian looked at Chen Bingyu with a thought-provoking gaze. Big Sister Bing seems very familiar with the Great Zhou country. But Chu Tian was never a person who was afraid of causing trouble. Taking one step at a time was not Chu Tian's style, so it was better to make a large hole in the ground and let the Great Zhou country know of Chu Tian's existence. This way it would be easier to do things. 2 coffin-like containers flew over from the west at an extremely fast speed. One of them was fiery red in color and had a large number of fire elemental runes carved on it, while the other was bluish-white in color and had a large number of ice elemental runes carved on it. Although their strengths were different, it was probably because they cultivated the cultivation technique of a sect. They were both covered in a thick corpse energy and poison mist, quickly flying over. These are experts from the inner sect, the famed Fire and Ice Twins. This is one of the most talented geniuses in the younger generation of the Xianin sect. 2 figures jumped out of the 2 coffins. One was wearing a red robe covered in flames and the other was wearing a white robe covered in frost. One fire and one ice, repelling each other, but also intertwining with each other. It formed a kind of fire and ice cycle, a feeling of life and death. Who dares cause trouble in the Black Moon sect? The 2 inner sect elites were both wearing masks, but their body and height were exactly the same. Even when they spoke, they were synchronized. It was as if they were a pair of twins. "I did it." Meng Yingying sensed the other side. The other side was not as strong as she imagined, only around the 8-9th awakened soul layer. She was filled with confidence. The Great Zhou country was only SOSO. Your Black Moon sect disciples bully the weak and have bad morals. I had to teach them a lesson. Shameless boasting. The 2 of them were instantly enraged. The Black Moon sect is an important place. How could we allow you to act so wildly? I'll let you see how strong the Black Moon sect is. Meng Yingying looked at Chu Tian. After getting a confirmation, she said without any fear, "Don't try to scare me, I'm not afraid of you." The 2 sides instantly began to fight. The 2 Black Moon sect inner sect elites used secret techniques to attack Meng Yingying several times. What surprised them was that no matter how they attacked, they would be bounced back by a layer of light. "You're only SOSO." Meng Yingying was filled with pride, feeling like she was possessed by a god of war. It was probably because she was in front of Chu Tian that she wanted to show off, so she used her newly learned starlight movement technique. She took several steps in the air and flashed like lightning. 2 palms shot out. Clean and direct. It didn't seem like it was as powerful as when she hit the fatty, but she had already used 40 to 50% of her strength. Spirit energy condensed on her arms, forming a thick layer of true spirit. Even if it was steel, it would still be cut in half. True spirit energy. The 2 brothers were instantly filled with shock. It's a true spirit cultivator. The two of them were filled with shock, but it was already too late to escape. Meng Yingying sent one flying with a palm, just like throwing away two pieces of paper. The gathering city onlookers were all filled with shock. It was already not simple for a young girl to defeat an outer sect elder of the Black Moon sect, but they never would have thought that she could defeat an inner sect elite disciple. The strength of these two brothers wasn't bad, they could cross a level and a half, but it was impossible for them to cross realms to defeat a true spirit cultivator. Not to mention that they couldn't break Meng Yingying's defenses. Even if they were in the same realm, they most likely wouldn't be able to defeat Meng Yingying. Who are you people? Because her strength increased quickly and her spirit energy became stronger, it could increase her lifespan and slow down her growth. Meng Yingying's appearance had not changed at all, she was still the same as when Chu Tian saw her a year ago. She looked to be around 15-16 years old, an ignorant young girl in the prime of her youth. A 15-16-year-old girl in the prime of her youth had a shocking true spirit cultivation. This kind of matter was unimaginable even in the great Zhou country. Yingying, stop! Chu Tian walked in front of the two Black Moon sect inner disciples. After all this time, you're on our side. If I knew earlier, I would have gone to find you. I haven't seen you for a year and your strength has increased quite quickly. The 10-corpse monster inner cores back then must have brought quite a bit of benefits. The Flame Ghost and Ice Demon brothers were a bit stunned. You are Lu Ren? Although it had been over a year and the young man's appearance had changed, his temperament couldn't be changed. When Flame Ghost and Ice Demon saw him, they recognized him as the mysterious youth Lu Ren they met in southern Xia's black market. The sword on his back and the fox sleeping on his shoulder proved this point. Now it seemed like Lu Ren was just a fake name and his appearance back then was a disguise. Chu Tian never thought he would meet these two brothers this coincidentally. That's right, it's me, but my real name is Chu Tian. Flame Ghost and Ice Demon looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. It really was this fellow. It was no wonder. Although they hadn't spent much time with Chu Tian, they knew that this young man was a monstrous genius. The Black Moon sect's outer sect elder, the bronze-masked old man, had brought the Flame Ghost brothers to the 10,000-corpse ancient tomb. If it wasn't for this fellow, the two of them would have died down there like the outer sect elder. So it's Brother Chu. Flame Ghost quickly stood up. This is all a misunderstanding. Ice Demon also said, Brother Chu has done the Black Moon sect a favor. I think the sect master and the elders and protectors will want to see you. Chu Tian laughed. Then I'll have to trouble the two of you to introduce me. Chapter 461. One of the great Zhou country's 6 famous mountains, the Heavenly Een Mountain, was an ancient ruin. The Black Moon sect's ancestor excavated the ruins and obtained the inheritance of the ancient Heavenly Een sect, therefore he created this powerful sect. The mountain protecting array has been opened, please come with us. Many thanks. This is how it should be. The Flame Ghost and Ice Demon brothers were very respectful to Chu Tian. Without Brother Chu, how could we be here today? But Brother Chu, we have to remind you, the Black Moon sect's elders and protectors don't have good tempers. I hope you'll pay attention to your words. Chu Tian agreed. The Black Moon sect's cultivation technique leaned towards demonic cultivators. This kind of cultivator's interest would be affected, and they would become ruthless and easily angered. This was also the reason why demonic cultivators weren't easy to get along with. The three of them followed the secret path into a deep valley. On both sides were all kinds of fierce statues and Black Moon sect disciples guarding them. The large-scale illusion array completely blocked the 5 senses. If it wasn't for the two brothers opening the mountain protecting array and revealing this path, other people wouldn't be able to find the entrance to the Black Moon sect even if they searched until the end of time. Meng Yingying asked while walking, You have friends in the Great Zhou country, how come I don't know about this? They couldn't even be considered friends. He explained the matter of the Corpse Valley. The Flame Ghost and Ice Demon brothers were just passers-by to Chu Tian. They thought they wouldn't meet again. They never thought they would meet in this kind of place. It was a matter of fate. In the beginning, Chu Tian gave the two brothers the 10,000-year-old corpse monster cores. Perhaps he didn't feel anything, but to the two of them, it was simply a favor of rebirth. There were many sects in the Great Zhou country. Each sect was divided into inner and outer sections. For a large sect like the Black Moon sect, they had at least a few thousand miles of land, several dozen cities, enjoying the offerings of tens of millions of people. And these tens of millions of people belonged to the outer sect. The outer sect was a vassal power. The inner sect was the true core power. The outer sect supported the sect to become stronger, and the sect became stronger to protect them. The inner sect disciples were all chosen from the outer sect. Both sides were interdependent. But in comparison, there was a large difference in status. It was like a heavenly moat. The bronze-masked old man in the past was an outer sect elder. To put it bluntly, he was just a merchant who ran errands for the mysterious sect. At that time, the Flame Ghost and Ice Demon brothers were extremely talented, but they were only chosen as preparatory disciples of the inner sanctum. They didn't officially enter the sect. It was precisely because of the large amount of rewards that they exchanged for the 10 corpse cores that their strength had improved by leaps and bounds over the past year. Now, they had become the most eye-catching rising stars of the Xianin sect. Fatty, an outer sanctum member, wouldn't care about them. The two brothers could feel it. Meng Yingying was the weakest of the three, but she still had a true spirit cultivation. Even in the Great Zhou country, this kind of person was as rare as a phoenix feather and unicorn horn. Not to mention that a barren land like southern Xia could give birth to such a monster. How could these two brothers not be shocked? If he continued at this speed, he would reach an unimaginable realm in less than 10 years. The entire Great Zhou country would have to look up to him. A large number of grand buildings gradually appeared in front of them. The Black Moon sect had around 200,000 people, and all of them were awakened soul cultivators. Just this strength was enough to look down on a small country, and they had over 10 true spirit cultivators. Just this one sect alone was much stronger than the southern summer country of the past. This was the difference between a large country and a small country. Greetings, Vice Sect Master, 4 great protectors, and various elders. The Flame Ghost and Ice Demon brothers brought Chu Tian into a large hall. There were Black Moon sect cultivators on both sides, each wearing similar clothes. Although their clothes were of different colors, they were all wearing masks. This is the great summer country scholar Chu Tian. Chu Tian's group of 3 stood in the center of the hall, ignoring the pressure from the surrounding Black Moon cultivators. His eyes passed through the hall and fell onto the people in the front. There were a total of 3 people here. One of them had a tall and sturdy figure, wearing a pitch-black robe from head to toe. He had a fierce black iron mask on his face, and his body was filled with a faint demonic qi. There were 2 people standing on his left and right. The 4 of them were dressed in green, red, blue, and yellow, 4 different colors. Other than the colors, their clothes and masks were all the same. They were all wearing round robes with a deep hood over their heads. Each person was surrounded by a different kind of energy. Vice Sect Master Endless Een. The 4 great wind, fire, water, and earth protectors. There were also a few elders from the Black Moon sect. Each person was wearing a ghost mask, giving off a ghostly aura that made Meng Yingying feel very uncomfortable. The Black Moon sect's inherited cultivation technique was special. Normally when a sect accepted a disciple, they would accept a certain type of innate talent, or they would use the inheritance to cover up their innate talent, allowing the entire sect to practice the same cultivation technique. The giant shark gang of the 4 States Lake was similar. The Black Moon sect was different in that they didn't restrict innate talent. It was just that on top of the innate talent of their source spirit, they covered up the characteristics of the Black Moon sect's cultivation technique. The four protectors' spirit energy should be wind, fire, water, and earth. The wind was wind, the water was water, the fire was fire, and the earth was earth. This was a very good inheritance. The vice sect master Endless slowly stood up and the surrounding black chi was released. A deep voice came from behind the mask. You are the rogue cultivator from the small southern summer country that brought 10 corpse cores to the Black Moon sect a year ago? That's right. Chu Tian didn't care about Endless Yin's contempt. The Black Moon sect is one of the 6 great sects of the Great Zhou country and can be considered the pillar of the Great Zhou country. I, as the Great Summer country's envoy, wish for the Great Zhou and Great Xia to work together and resist the Northern Eagle Burial Warring Kingdom. Ha 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 ha. A series of laughter came from the main hall and a person dressed as a Black Moon sect elder stood up. Bullshit Great Summer country. Could it be that a respected large country can't even send a decent person? A brat who still smells of his mother's milk, and 2 women wanted to take advantage of the Great Zhou dynasty? You want to obtain the Black Moon sect's support? Laughable, laughable. What qualifications do you have? Don't think that you can bribe the Black Moon sect with a few corpse cores. Chu Tian looked at him. What is your excellency's name? The Black Moon sect's punishment elder, Yang Miao. Flame Ghost and Ice Demon became a bit embarrassed and immediately looked at Chu Tian. Elder Yang Miao couldn't be offended. His water demonic art had reached the perfection realm and he was one of the elders with the highest position in the sect. His cultivation had reached the 2nd true spirit layer and he had several dozen Black Moon sect secret techniques. 2nd true spirit layer? What did this count for in the forest of chaos? A piece of trash like you dares to be arrogant in front of father? These fellows' eyes were high above their heads and they had bad intentions, so there was no benefit in being humble. Only by showing enough strength could they speak properly. That's right, we are small characters in the Great Summer country. Chu Tian had already thrown his promise to the 2 brothers to the back of his head. But small characters like us are very curious, we really want to see the secret techniques of the Great Zhou country's famous sections. If the elder is generous, how about we make a bet? Yang Miao said with a cold smile, You think you're worthy of making a bet with me? In the 10,000 corpse ancient tomb, I didn't just obtain 10,000-year-old corpse monster cores. Of course I'm not worthy, but it is. Chu Tian casually pulled out his sword. When the ice-cold sword touched the ground, a cold aura was released, creating a large piece of frost. The ancient soul-contracting weapon, the Netherworld sword, I think it is considered a top-grade treasure in the Great Zhou country. If the elder can defeat any one of the 3, this sword will be the Great Summer country's gift to the Black Moon sect. The expressions of everyone present slightly changed. There was also a trace of fluctuation in Endless Yin's eyes. Chu Tian's Netherworld sword was no longer the Netherworld sword he had just obtained. It had already recovered its strength and was even stronger than before. In a place like the Black Moon sect, it could be considered a top-grade treasure. The Black Moon sect's eyes were high above their heads. How could a small country like the Southern Summer country place them in their eyes? They were willing to meet Chu Tian this time because they knew that Chu Tian had many treasures on him. They never thought that before they even made a move, Chu Tian would take the initiative to take out the Netherworld sword. Yang Miao gave a sinister laugh from under his mask. Is it really like this? Would I lie to you here? Chu Tian shrugged his shoulders and said, If I win, you have to agree to some of my conditions. Was this young man from a small country an idiot? What qualifications did he have to bargain in this situation? Even if he could make the Black Moon sect agree to his conditions, would the Black Moon sect keep their promise? Little brother is this confident. The vice sect master Endless suddenly spoke up. It would be a waste if he didn't take a treasure that was sent to his door. Elder Yang should exchange pointers with them. Let these small country cultivators see the Black Moon sect's cultivation technique. It can be considered a good deed. Alright. Yang Miao's spirit energy was suddenly released. His body that was sitting on the chair suddenly changed shape. It was like black water was flowing upwards, falling onto the ground in front of him, instantly forming his body. There were still black water droplets flowing around his body. Don't say that I'm bullying the weak. Whoever has the confidence to go up, it's fine even if all three of you come together. This was a very strange cultivation technique. The Black Moon sect's elder gave people a feeling like his body had turned into invisible water, constantly changing and hiding danger. This was the perfection realm of the Yin water demonic technique? Meng Yingying volunteered. I'll fight. Chu Tian deliberately provoked her. Are you sure you won't have a problem? No problem. Meng Yingying was filled with confidence. I'll take care of it in 10 moves. Chu Tian shook his head in dissatisfaction and said, 10 moves is too much, I'll take care of it in 3. Meng Yingying tilted her head and thought about it. I'll try. Yang Miao's eyes were terrifyingly dark. Are the people of southern Xia all as arrogant as you? No, actually most of the great summer people are very humble. Chu Tian said with a smile. Unless we meet trash that overestimates themselves and doesn't know themselves, then we'll teach them a lesson. With these words, everyone's expressions changed. Ghost Flame and Ice Demon were stunned. Did Chu Tian's brain break? Didn't he know that he was in the Black Moon sect's territory? If he said these words in front of so many people from the Black Moon sect, would the Black Moon sect let him leave? Where would the face of one of the great Zhou 6 great sects go? With these words, this was simply a naked provocation. Yang Miao flew into a rage out of shame. How bold! AI, don't be so excited. I'm not targeting you alone. Chu Tian's eyes swept over the surrounding elders, as well as the protectors and vice sect masters. I'm saying that everyone here is bastard. Before he even finished, Yang Miao angrily attacked, going around Meng Yingying to attack Chu Tian. When the Ghost and Ice Demon brothers saw this, they almost couldn't stop themselves from smashing their heads against the wall. They had truly caused a disaster this time. Chapter 462. The Great Zhou country was stronger than the Great Summer country. This was an undeniable fact. Just the Black Moon sect could gather an army of 100,000 or even 200,000 awakened soul realm cultivators. If this strength was used well, it could destroy the Great Summer country. The Black Moon sect was just one of the many sects in the Great Zhou country. It could be imagined that, if the Great Zhou country's army gathered together, perhaps each person would be able to drown Chu Tian and take him back. Not to mention the fact that the three of them were in the Black Moon sect's territory. This was one of the most ancient sects in the Great Zhou country, with various restrictions, barriers, and arrays. Not only was it hard to attack, it was harder than ascending to the heavens to kill their way out. Chu Tian's inexplicable provocation was an irrational thing to do. Wasn't this no different from seeking death? Actually, it wasn't like this. Chu Tian wasn't afraid of them at all. Even if they took 10,000 steps back, and the three of them had city return scrolls, they could run away if the situation wasn't good. There was no way to stop spatial scrolls in this era, so what could the Black Moon sect do to them even if they had more people? Chu Tian didn't have the time to slowly bargain with them. The Black Moon sect was a sect filled with demonic cultivators. Although they weren't evil, as long as they were demonic cultivators, they would follow the law of the jungle. Moreover, promises and oaths had no meaning. Chu Tian didn't want to waste his saliva and knowledge. It was better to use absolute strength to make them yield. So what if the Black Moon sect was strong? The Great Zhou country was strong in terms of overall strength, resources, army, and economy. In terms of just the number of experts, the Black Moon sect couldn't even compare to Miracle City. Being afraid like this, was this still Chu Tian's style? No matter what, Chu Tian had successfully enraged Yang Miao. His hands came together and his body began to melt, turning into a human-shaped jelly. Large droplets of water floated out of his body, and each droplet floated in the air. Yang Miao's hands suddenly pushed forward. Several dozen droplets of water shot at Chu Tian. Seal of dead water. This was one of the Black Moon sect's secret technique. Yang Miao clearly had a rare elemental source spirit, and his source spirit was water. Combining it with the water demonic technique to display this secret technique, each drop of water had a strong penetrative power and killing intent. The most poisonous part was that it could easily corrode one's protective spirit energy, and most protective cultivation techniques would be ineffective. Moreover, it contained a strong poison, killing anyone who touched it. You hit the wrong person. Your opponent is me. Meng Yingying's body shone with starlight. Under the intense collision of electromagnetic light, she blocked in front of Chu Tian like a bolt of lightning. Dozens of water droplets fell on Meng Yingying's petite and beautiful body. When these pitch-black water droplets hit Meng Yingying's body, it was like water droplets falling on a red-hot iron pot. The sizzling sound was accompanied by a rising steam, and the water droplets evaporated almost instantly. Ineffective. Yang Miao's face slightly changed. This girl had a cultivation in the first true spirit layer at such a young age. This was very shocking. At least in the Black Moon sect, there had never been a 16-year-old who had a cultivation in the true spirit layer. Even in the history of the Great Zhou country, there weren't many. A trivial little country's girl, how could she have this kind of ability? The most incredible thing was an unheard of defensive cultivation technique. Not only did it have a strong defense, it could also resist the corrosion of the darkness and curse, making the seal of dead water ineffective before it could be used. The Great Zhou country was a country filled with sects, with countless ancient inheritances and cultivation techniques, but they had never heard of this cultivation technique before. Yang Miao used all his strength and his body became even more blurry. Countless strands of black steam were released, instantly swallowing at Meng Yingying like a giant beast. So what if her defense was strong? This move could turn her energy into mist, and this mist was everywhere. From the pores, from the nose, from the ears, it could enter any part of the body. Even if a single strand entered the body, it was enough to kill a first true spirit layer cultivator. Meng Yingying's cultivation was high, but she clearly lacked battle experience. She was a bit stunned when she faced this attack, and in that moment, she was completely surrounded by the black mist. She even accidentally breathed in a few mouthfuls, so she should be dead for sure. Yang Miao's water demonic technique was not for nothing. If it was a normal true spirit cultivator, they would have lost their battle strength even if they didn't die. But when the starlight immortal body reached the sacred light body realm, the power released came from the inside. It was not just the surface of the body, each muscle, meridians, and even the internal organs were all covered by the sacred light body's power. So even if Meng Yingying made this mistake, she would not be injured at all and her movements would just freeze for a few seconds. Profound large hand seal. Yang Miao used a high-grade secret technique of the Black Moon sect this time. Endless wild energy came from his body and condensed into a giant palm that slammed at Yingying. Yang Miao used his full strength with this attack, not holding anything back at all. The profound large hand seal was one of Yang Miao's strongest killing move. Meng Yingying finally felt a sense of danger. She who had a slow reaction and movement finally released her mirror source spirit, but before she could make her next move, the powerful large hand seal slammed into her body. Die! Yang Miao did not have any protective feelings for the fairer sex as he angrily roared out with all his strength, wanting to crush this young girl to pieces. The moment the large hand seal slammed into the other side, Yang Miao felt like a giant wave slamming into a diamond. He couldn't shake it at all and the terrifying power was reflected back at him. The starlight immortal body had the ability to reflect damage. Meng Yingying's mirror source spirit also had the ability to reflect damage. When Yingying received this attack, she immediately used all her strength to activate the starlight immortal body, returning most of the power to Yang Miao. Yang Miao's large hand shattered inch by inch, turning into countless drops of water that fell onto her body. The ground, pillars, walls, and ceiling behind her were all filled with holes. Yingying's first counterattack. A normal cultivator would have been killed by the reflected power. Yang Miao received a strong backlash, but Yang Miao's cultivation technique was very special. The Yin water demonic technique in the perfection realm made his body turn into elemental essence. When the reflected power hit his body, it was completely absorbed by his half-liquefied body, so it didn't cause any damage. Even like this, Yingying's strength was enough to make others look at her in a different light. Chu Tian said from the side, "The first move." Meng Yingying's eyebrows slightly wrinkled. The starlight around her body collided intensely. Her figure turned into a bolt of lightning and rushed out. Her flawless right arm swept out, unexpectedly creating an incomparably sharp starlight blade. Yang Miao had not stabilized himself yet. This close distance, this fast, and this kind of attack filled with explosive power, he had no way of dodging it. He could only condense a water shield in front of him. The starlight blade pierced through the water shield and into Yang Miao's body. Did she kill him? Meng Yingying had just thought this when Yang Miao retreated. There was indeed a large hole in his chest, but the black water quickly filled it. In just a moment it was as good as new, not leaving a single mark behind. A water source spirit and a strange cultivation technique can make attacks ineffective? Even if Meng Yingying didn't have any battle experience, she could still see through this trick. This is a bit hard to deal with. His cultivation base is higher than mine, it won't be easy to break through it. Chu Tian reminded her, the second move. Meng Yingying released all her spirit energy and the mirror source spirit floating behind her suddenly had the image of a fire phoenix appear. That blazing flame came from the mirror and instantly surrounded Meng Yingying's body. Fire phoenix? The Black Moon sect people were shocked. This was the legendary god-level source spirit. Meng Yingying's fire phoenix was a fake. Although it couldn't compare to Nangongyun, the mirror fire phoenix still had the power of a fire phoenix. Meng Yingying released half of the source spirit in her body and used all her strength to gather this powerful flame energy. The flames around Meng Yingying's body became stronger and a giant phoenix appeared around her. Chu Tian was stunned. Great Nirvana scripture? Not only did Meng Yingying copy Nangongyun's source spirit, did she want to copy Nangongyun's main cultivation technique? Of course, this was impossible. At least with Meng Yingying's current strength, she could only copy a bit of it. Even so, it was still very strong. A little girl in her teens could force the highest-ranked elder of the Black Moon sect to this point. Yang Miao was filled with anger and shock. His hands formed several seals and large amounts of black water came from his body. His body quickly swelled, and in the blink of an eye, he turned into a 3-meter-tall black water demon and his aura doubled. Profound Yin large hand seal. Yang Miao pushed the Yin water magic technique to its limit, turning himself into a black water demon. Then, he used a secret technique and crazily attacked Meng Yingying. This was already the strongest attack he could complete. Heaven Burning Fist. Meng Yingying had already released most of her strength. The mirror source spirit continued to provide energy behind her, and her entire body was covered in the faint phoenix image. The two of them fiercely collided. Fire against water, light against darkness. In that instant, water vapor filled the entire main hall. This water vapor was caused by Yang Miao's spirit energy evaporating, and it contained the Yin water demonic technique's poison. The elders and disciples all ran away in fear of being caught in the crossfire. Yang Miao's protective Yin water demonic technique was evaporated by the fire phoenix's power. Meng Yingying's fist landed on his body, and although it was very close, it still broke through his protective spirit energy. Yang Miao was like a puppet with its strings cut as he instantly broke 6-7 pillars and fell into a corner. You! Yang Miao spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted on the spot. Meng Yingying's little face was a bit pale, and she was gasping for breath from overexertion. It really was dangerous. Yang Miao was actually a bit stronger than her, but the starlight immortal body could restrain him, so Meng Yingying didn't have any worries when she attacked. Yang Miao had to use a part of his cultivation to protect his body, but he was suppressed by the Fire Phoenix's power, so he was directly defeated by Meng Yingying. But Meng Yingying did it. She defeated a higher-level cultivator in 3 moves. Humph! The Black Moon Sect's Vice-Sect Master Endless Yin's face sunk, daring to insult my Black Moon Sect. 4 protectors, capture them. The 4 protectors made their move. Wind, fire, water, and earth, the 4 of them had different source spirits, but their strength was not inferior to Yang Miao's. With the 4 of them attacking at the same time, their strength surpassed one's imagination. Chu Tian shook his head with a look of disdain. You can't beat me alone, so you're suppressing me with numbers? The main hall was filled with a bone-chilling cold. Before the 4 protectors attacked, there was a blizzard that appeared out of nowhere. Endless Yin was shocked to find that the black-clothed woman beside Chu Tian had made a move. This woman had always been quiet and low-key, but when she made a move, she was actually this strong. Perhaps she was several times stronger than that girl. Seeing a ghost. When did this little southern Xia have this many experts? Chapter 463. The instant Chen Bingyu soared into the air, all the origin power in her body poured out in torrents, suddenly turning into a large snowstorm that engulfed the entire palace, causing the temperature to plummet by several tens of degrees, making everyone feel as if they were in the extreme cold. The spectators all felt this strong, so it could be imagined how much pressure the 4 protectors were under. Tens of thousands of crystal-clear snowflakes released a glow, just like a rain of flowers falling from a pear garden. It was beautiful, but it was also filled with a strong sense of danger. Each snowflake was condensed from Chen Bingyu's source spirit, and its might was enough to freeze the enemy's spirit energy, making them lose their battle strength. The 4 great protectors were blocked in a single move and had no choice but to temporarily avoid the power of the blizzard. Chen Bingyu's alluring body shot out from the entanglement of the snowflakes. The exhausted snowflakes seemed to be attracted by a magnet and immediately condensed into 2 beautiful and exquisite snow dragons beside Chen Bingyu. She struck out with her palms and once again attacked the 4 great protectors. This silent, low-key, and unobtrusive woman really amazed the world with a single brilliant feat. Chen Bingyu also had the sacred light body, but her cultivation base was even deeper. Now that she was in the second true spirit layer, she was different from someone like Meng Yingying who only knew how to imitate. She was a genius with shocking battle talent. Her source spirit and talent were not below that of Central State's Chu Xinghe. The 4 protectors were not easy to deal with. Originally, they wanted to temporarily avoid the momentum, but they did not expect Shen Bing to be so strong. The 4 of them immediately struck out, and the 2 interweaving snow dragons were instantly blown to pieces, once again turning into snowflakes that filled the sky. The snowflakes were like a mountain of blades. Her figure moved like lightning. In half a blink of an eye, Chen Bingyu used 5 or 6 secret techniques and fought with the 4 great protectors of wind, fire, water, and earth one after another. She rushed forward with the momentum of the falling snowflakes and struck each of them with her palm, forcing the 4 great protectors to take a step back. Good! Meng Yingying couldn't help shouting, "Big Sister Bing is strong." Was there a need to say it? Among the people Chu Tian trained, Nangong Yun had the highest battle talent. She had a god-level source spirit and a supreme cultivation technique, so it was hard for Chu Tian to defeat her in the same realm without using his main source spirit. Next were Chen Bingyu and Dongfang Haoran. Chen Bingyu and Nangong Yun were both extreme martial artists. The difference between the two was that Nangong Yun worshipped the pure and direct power of martial arts, so she was a combative and destructive person. Chen Bingyu's pursuit was higher than Nangong Yun's. She pursued the true meaning of martial arts, treating martial arts as an art, and not completely obsessed with fighting and power. While Chen Bingyu was in miracle commerce, she had not missed a single lesson in Qilin Hall. She had also used miracle commerce to collect large amounts of cultivation techniques and secret technique. Every day, she would try to understand the various cultivation techniques and martial arts. Chen Bingyu's future battle strength might not be comparable to Nangong Yun's. However, Nangong Yun's attainments in the martial Tao were not something she could compare with. From Chen Bingyu's moves, it could be seen that Chen Bingyu's moves were ever-changing. She could use 4 to 5 different martial arts in an instant. It could be said that she had already absorbed the advanced theoretical knowledge that Chu Tian had put forward, and based on this foundation, she had collected several outstanding martial arts and martial arts. Such a high comprehension! The 4 Black Moon Protectors never thought that their joint attack would be blocked by a normal-looking girl, so they immediately flew into a rage out of shame. What are you 4 doing? Use the 4-in-4 phase array. The 4 Protectors were clearly excited. Their individual strengths were not inferior to Yang Miao's. Not to mention the fact that the 4 Black Moon Protectors were inseparable. Although their cultivation techniques were different, they could perfectly combine them, achieving a 1+1 greater than 2 effect. Most third true spirit layer experts were not their match. In this kind of 4 against 1 situation, how could they be afraid of a trivial female? The other elders and even the 4 Protectors knew how strong they were, so they didn't interfere. After all, the people here were all famous great Zhou experts, and it wasn't a good reputation for them to bully others with numbers. The 4 Protectors directly gave up on Chu Tian and Meng Yingying because the 4 Protectors could see that Chen Bingyu had the highest cultivation among the 3 of them. They would kill the person with the highest cultivation first, and then they wouldn't have to worry about the others. One was covered in dark blue wind. One was covered in purple-red flames. One was covered in ash-black-een water. One was covered in dark golden rock. The 4 of them suddenly became as fast as ghosts, leaving behind countless afterimages. 4 beams of light intertwined, and a strange array formation appeared out of nowhere. Chen Bingyu was trapped in this array formation, and the 4 Protectors each took a corner of the formation. My sex 4 Protectors are 4 twin brothers, born as one. Their minds are connected and their innate talents are different, but they can help each other. The cultivation techniques they cultivate come from the same source, combining the 4 into one, making their battle strength even stronger. Endless Een saw that the array was complete and immediately relaxed. This trivial nameless person wants to break the 4 Protectors. The 4 Protectors all had rare elemental source spirit. This kind of source spirit was very hard to deal with, not to mention the seamless 4 elemental array. Chen Bingyu felt her strength being suppressed. The blizzard that was raging in the main hall could no longer break through the suppression of the array. The Black Moon sect really does have some skills. Meng Yingying indignantly said, "They are bullying with numbers. Perhaps elder sister Bingyu will suffer a loss." Don't be anxious. Chu Tian had indeed underestimated the Black Moon sect's strength. Chen Bingyu's strength was enough to fight 4 people of the same level, but the coordination between the 4 Protectors was too perfect. It wasn't as simple as numbers. But even like this, he was not anxious to make a move because Chu Tian could vaguely feel that Chen Bingyu was hiding some other strength. Elder sister Bing won't be easily defeated. Chen Bingyu's spirit energy turned into a blizzard that was biting cold, but she was still trapped in the center of the main hall. No matter how fierce she was, she couldn't break through the defense of the 4 Protectors. The four protectors had already begun to attack and suppress Chen Bingyu, but with the starlight immortal body and her powerful strength, she was fine for a while. This situation was very bad. Fighting four people at once consumed several times more spirit energy than the four protectors. If this continued, she would most likely lose due to lack of spirit energy. At this time, the wind protector sent out a sharp wind blade. When Chen Bingyu dodged to the side, her black veil was lifted by the wind blade, revealing a cold, beautiful, and mature face. Chen Bingyu was a person over 30 years old, but she looked like she was in her 20s. For her to have this kind of cultivation at her age, she could be considered a genius in the Great Zhou country. Endless Een sat on the high throne and said, "You have some skill. If you are willing to serve the Black Moon sect, this one will spare your lives." Humph! Chen Bingyu's eyes revealed a trace of anger. Countless snowflakes began to spin at high speeds, forming an incomparably large ice lotus. Countless flames, water bullets, wind blades, and earth spikes attacked, but before they could even land on Chen Bingyu, they were frozen and lost their power. Chen Bingyu formed a seal with her hands. A white and blue mark appeared between her eyebrows. At this time, a power that seemed to have been sealed in her body suddenly surged out from Chen Bingyu's body. It made her spirit energy increase in a short period of time, gradually surpassing the second true spirit realm. What was going on? What was even stranger was that Chen Bingyu's originally jet-black hair suddenly turned silver-white at a speed visible to the naked eye. Chu Tian was also shocked. Bloodline power? Big Sister Bing has bloodline power. She's been by my side for this long, and I didn't even notice. I'm truly a failure. Bloodline power was a power that came from one's ancestors and bloodline. Southern Xia's Nangong family believed in the immortal bird. Perhaps their ancestors were related to the immortal bird, so they passed their power to their descendant. Only bloodline power had been passed down from ancient times, so it would be buried for a long time. The longer it was, the deeper it would be buried, to the point where it could not be awakened. Not only did Chen Bingyu possess the power of a bloodline, but she was also able to activate this ancient power. With the support of this power, Chen Bingyu's strength would skyrocket by several times. Descent of the Ice River. The mark between Chen Bingyu's eyebrows shone brighter and brighter. Her slender and fair hands were covered in blue ice flames. She pressed her left and right hands into the void, releasing large chunks of ice into the surrounding space. It felt as if the air had been frozen and the whole space had been sealed. Retreat. Chu Tian pulled Meng Yingying along and teleported a few hundred meters away with a space leap. The place where he was just standing was instantly frozen. This ice was condensed from spirit energy, so there was no need to condense water into ice. Most of the space in the store was sealed. The elders, including the brothers Flame Ghost and Ice Demon, who could not escape in time, were all sealed by the terrifying ice. These people were not dead. They were sealed. It was too late for the four great protectors to escape. Countless crystal-like ice blocks did not give them any chance to escape. Their terrified postures and terrified expressions were perfectly preserved. Meng Yingying looked at the hall and her mouth could fit an apple. So powerful, a single move filled most of the hall with ice. The Black Moon Sect's Vice Sect Master Endless Yin's expression was not filled with shock and anger. He looked at Chen Bingyu in disbelief. "You're the great Zhou royal family princess that disappeared 18 years ago. You never expected it." Chen Bingyu's silver-white hair danced in the wind, but her eyes were still as cold as before. The great Zhou royal family was slaughtered, and the last fish that escaped the net was able to live until today. Good, you didn't die 18 years ago, but you've come to our door today." Endless Een gave an angry roar and charged into the sky. Endless demonic chi turned into a palm that shot out at Chen Bingyu. "I'll kill you now." Pung! Endless Een was in the third true spirit layer. Chen Bingyu didn't have the strength to resist and was sent flying by the palm. Luckily Chen Bingyu didn't have much spirit energy left, but she could still maintain the starlight immortal body, so this attack only caused a light injury to her. Stupid, truly stupid. It was hard for you to escape Great Zhou and you had a fortuitous encounter, but you're in a rush to die in Great Zhou. Enlacine stepped in the air with ghostly chi surrounding him. Since it's like this, I can't let you live. Enlacine raised his hands high up and a deep blue ghost head blade condensed in front of him. Dang. The blade and sword collided. Chu Tian appeared in front of Chen Bingyu and raised the Netherworld sword to block this attack. When he was pushed back by Endless Yin's blade, he grabbed the injured Chen Bingyu and quickly moved to Yingying's side. Are you alright? There was a trace of blood on the corner of Chen Bingyu's lips and her eyes slightly trembled. I'm alright, thank you. You're still a princess, I'm really blind. Don't make fun of me. Chen Bingyu's eyes revealed a trace of bitterness. Chu Tian knew that Chen Bingyu's background was not normal, but now was not the time to get to the bottom of it. Leave big sister Bingyu to me. Meng Yingying used her movement technique to charge forward. The cultivators outside are about to kill their way in. There are so many of them and we can't beat them, so we can only run away. Run away? Are you stupid? Chu Tian gave a laugh. Haven't you noticed? The Black Moon Sect's elders and protectors are all hostages in our hands. We have the advantage, do we need to run? Take care of big sister Bingyu, I'll beat this fellow up first. Chu Tian handed Chen Bingyu to Meng Yingying. His feet stepped off the ground and he flew into the air with his sword. When he reached the same height as Enlacine, he circulated his spirit energy and said with a laugh, Ha ha ha, the Great Zhou Black Moon Sect is only SOSO. Your elders and protectors can't even take a single blow, I'll have to experience the Vice Sect Master's strength. After saying this, Chu Tian instantly disappeared and a resplendent sword glow slashed at Enlacine. This young cultivator from the southern summer country actually took the initiative to attack the Black Moon Sect of the 6 Great Zhou countries. So bold. Enlacine gave an angry laugh. You're the first to challenge this one with a cultivation in the first true spirit layer. Chapter 464. The Black Moon Sect's main hall exploded. Saber Chi soared into the sky. The might of this slash almost sent the roof of the hall flying. 2 extremely fast figures charged out. One of them was the Black Moon Sect's Vice Sect Master Enlacine, and the other was a stranger covered in flames that looked like a demon. The 2 of them attacked each other in the air, and the Saber Chi and Sword Chi collided, causing an explosion. Hong. The 2 of them were sent flying, causing the Black Moon Sect disciples to cry out in shock. He's evenly matched with the Vice Sect Master. This is a peak expert of the 5 famous mountains? He uses a sword. Could he be someone from the Heavenly Sword Mountain? No matter who it is, daring to attack in the sect's forbidden area is provoking the Black Moon Sect. Open the restriction and the barrier. Immediately prepare the talismans and arrows to kill him. The Black Moon Sect was thrown into chaos as countless cultivators prepared to attack. No matter how high Chu Tian's cultivation was, with the Heavenly Yin Mountains sect protecting array and tens of thousands of cultivators working together, he had no chance of resisting at all. Stop! Everyone stop! Meng Yingying shattered the wall with a palm and shouted at the people outside. Look who is in our hands. If anyone dares to sneak attack, we'll kill them. The Black Moon Sect disciples' eyes almost popped out. The wall of the main hall collapsed, and when the dust settled, an incomparably large block of ice appeared in front of them. This ice mountain was completely clear, without any impurities in it. If it wasn't for the light reflecting off the edges and the cold aura, people wouldn't have noticed the existence of this large block of ice. Ah, it's the elders. The disciples of the Xianin sect were stunned to find that the elders, who were usually respected like gods, were actually all sealed in huge blocks of ice. Most of them were still frozen in a state of panic when they were running away. Although there were still signs of life, They were frozen in the ice and didn't have any ability to move or resist. Meng Yingying supported Chen Bingyu with one hand and slapped the block of ice with the other. On the surface of the large block of ice, several small cracks appeared. Stop! Everyone stop! The Black Moon sect disciples quickly stopped their attacks with talismans and arrows. Too sinister, too despicable, but how did they do it? These elders were all true spirit realm experts. Why were they frozen in the ice mountain? Meng Yingying looked at the Black Moon sect with more and more people, and her heart was a bit worried. This matter was becoming bigger and bigger. She really didn't know how to end it. But this was also good. They would teach the Black Moon sect a lesson first, and Chu Tian's name would spread across the Great Zhou country. At that time, no one would look down on them when they went to other sections. The two of them were on the verge of exchanging blows. Endless Een was the Black Moon sect's vice sect master, so his Black Moon demonic art had been cultivated to the great perfection realm. This was one of the Black Moon sect's main inherited cultivation techniques, cultivating extreme Een Qi. It could transform into demons and ghosts, making it hard to deal with. Chu Tian released the Demon God Sword and activated the Flame Demon transformation. Even so, he was barely able to hold his ground. Endless Een was filled with rage. These damn fellows dared to capture a sect elder as a hostage. If this matter was spread, the Black Moon sect would lose all face. The only thing they could do now was to defeat them in one fell swoop and use this person as a hostage to deal with the two women. Profound Een malicious ghosts. Endless Een did not hide his strength or slowly probe him. The other side was in the first true spirit layer, and although his battle strength was shocking, his spirit energy was too strong. Endless Een did not need to worry about consuming his spirit energy at all. He just needed to use his strongest move to deal with him. More than a dozen ferocious-looking ghosts emerged from their bodies. These ghosts were all wearing similar clothes to Endless Een, but they didn't wear masks, revealing a dried-up skeleton face. They held a purple and black ghost head blade in their hands that released a ghostly mist. They flew through the clouds, flickering as they appeared in all directions around Chu Tian. These were not normal undead monsters, rather they were formed from the extreme Een souls refined by the profound Een demonic art for over 10 years. Each one of them was not inferior to a true spirit cultivator, and if several extreme Een source spirits attacked at the same time, even someone in the third true spirit layer would suffer. So powerful! This was the Vice Sect Master's strength. The Black Moon Sect disciples were filled with excitement. With the battle strength of several dozen profound Een malicious ghosts and the Vice Sect Master's own battle strength, it was hard for them to fight against experts of the same level. After all, he was the Vice Sect leader. His position was high and powerful, and he had exclusive access to resources. Putting everything else aside, just the dozen or so vengeful ghosts alone would require a terrifying amount of resources to refine. After cultivating with this kind of status, it was not strange for him to be stronger than ordinary people of the same level. Chu Tian laughed. "I'm truly sorry, if you didn't cultivate a demonic art, perhaps you could fight me." Speaking without thinking, Dai. Endless Yin's ghost head blade turned into a 10-meter-long blade that slashed out like a dazzling beam. The several dozen profound Een malicious ghosts seized this chance and charged at Chu Tian from all directions. Each person's ghost head blade turned into a 12-meter-long blade that attacked him at the same time. Chu Tian's path of retreat was completely sealed. He had no other choice but to block them. But even the sacred light body couldn't block this kind of attack. When Chu Tian was about to be dismembered, the several dozen malicious ghosts let out pitiful cries as they exploded one by one. Like smoke, they were all sent to the little white fox, and the little fox swallowed them all in a single bite. What? Endless Een watched as the profound Een malicious ghosts he had refined for several years was easily destroyed, and he couldn't help revealing a look of disbelief. In this short moment of being stunned, the blade glow slowed down a bit. Chu Tian's eyes turned white and he obtained the innate spatial energy. He jumped out and dodged the attack. Spatial energy. Innate spatial energy. Endless Een was shocked once again. When he turned around, Chu Tian was already standing behind him. The demon god's sword source spirit was summoned and the netherworld sword's power was released to its peak. Endless Een did not even have time to send out another slash before Chu Tian suddenly disappeared. He turned into 8 figures that appeared beside him at the same time. 8 of them were real and 8 of them were condensing an attack. Netherworld clone slash. Chu Tian did not waste time as he used his strongest sword move. Endless Een found 8 dazzling sword glows that charged at him with extreme speed and might. Even with Endless Yin's strength, he could only block 5 of them and 3 sword glows fell onto him at the same time. Ah! Endless Een gave a pitiful cry as his protective cultivation technique was broken. Although he wasn't cut into pieces, he was still heavily injured as he fell down from the sky. The Black Moon sect's disciples almost collapsed. The sect elder had been captured as a hostage, and now even the respected vice sect master had been defeated by the other side. Was the Black Moon sect really going to suffer a large loss this time? Chu Tian released the flame demon transformation and grabbed the heavily injured Endless Een, placing his sword across his neck. Meng Yingying revealed a look of joy. There was another heavyweight captive. Then they could extort the Black Moon sect. The Black Moon sect was a sect with thousands of years of history. They had accumulated quite a bit. It was unknown if they had spatial crystals. Endless Een was still conscious. His sword wound wasn't heavy, but the netherworld ghost flame was too sinister. His cultivation needed to suppress the netherworld flame that was invading his body, so he couldn't resist it at all. Do you think you can leave the heavenly Een mountain alive like this? Ha ha, you don't need to worry about this. Chu Tian retreated to the square. He grabbed Endless Een with one hand and waved his sword with the other. Your vice sect master is in my hands now. Let's talk about the ransom conditions. These madmen. They actually wanted to capture the vice sect master to extort the sect? Even if they captured the elder and the vice sect master, would they be able to relax? Once the various restrictions of the heavenly Een mountain were activated, even if they had wings, they wouldn't be able to fly out of the heavenly Een mountain. Once the heavenly Een mountain's protective array was activated, they would be destroyed in an instant. What confidence did he have to act so arrogantly here? But the elder and vice sect master were captured. Most of the Black Moon sect's high-level members had fallen into the hands of these people, and the Black Moon sect couldn't even find a leader. You call yourself the Great Summer Country's envoy, but I think you are just helpers that woman brought. I'm telling you, the Great Zhou royal family has no hope. They have already been completely destroyed. What kind of storm can a trivial princess cause? Although I don't know who you are, there won't be a good ending for meddling in the Great Zhou country's matters. Endless Een gritted his teeth. This was the only possibility. The Great Summer Country had just been established, so why would they have a falling out with the heavenly Een mountain of the 6 famous Great Zhou countries? They wouldn't do something like this unless they were crazy. But I'm very sorry. Chu Tian's mind was indeed different from normal people's. The Great Zhou royal family's princess? Chu Tian really didn't know Chen Bingyu's identity. The Great Zhou royal family was slaughtered and Chen Bingyu was the only fish that escaped the net. This also explained why Chen Bingyu wandered alone and finally joined the Nangong family as a guest official in Imperial City, staying with the Nangong family for 10 years. Chu Tian didn't know what was going on, but it didn't matter. He would figure it out sooner or later. He had the advantage now. Chen Bingyu had sealed most of the Black Moon sect's high-level members. With these people's lives in his hands, the Black Moon sect wouldn't take any risks, so there was room for negotiation. The 3 of them were not afraid of the Black Moon sect at all. If the situation wasn't good, the 3 of them could return to Central State City or Miracle City in minutes, even taking a few hostages along the way. Unless, the Black Moon sect had a powerful existence that could instantly kill the three of them, making it so they couldn't even activate their transport scrolls. But this possibility was very small. If Chu Tian used all his cards, not to mention someone like Endless Een, even a spirit transformation expert wouldn't be able to instantly kill the three of them. Why hasn't the Black Moon sect's true boss appeared yet? Where is he? Quickly say it. Humph, if the sect master wasn't in closed-door cultivation, how could you be so arrogant? 10 minutes. Chu Tian placed his sword on Endless Yin's neck. Call your sect master out to see me, otherwise I'll cut this fellow. You. No need. When the Black Moon sect's people were filled with rage, a voice came from the sky. I'm already here. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.